85 loyalist skulls in the pile. 85 loyalist skulls. Crush one to dust and drink it with blood. 84 loyal skulls in the pile. Now, the timeline has advanced to 1994, November 2nd, 16 hours, 30 minutes, 18 seconds. Now. We are, where are we? We are here. We are everywhere. And we are here as well. Hello there. Greetings and welcome. I am Carianto, and today we continue once more with Root Double Before Crime After Days Xtend Edition. But before we delve into that, a few things that I shall mention. First of all, I fucked around with the audio yet again, of course, as I'm a broken record. That's gonna... I mean, I'll listen to this once we're done and see what it actually sounds like when I'm not really thinking about how it sounds during test recordings, because apparently my mind works a bit differently then, and I can't get a proper sound out for some reason. I don't know. There's just something different about actually streaming and recording for extended amounts of time versus just a short little test recording that's only like a minute or two long. So anyway, I guess apologies for that. But anyway, other things you may have noticed on the here, right side. That's the right side. Yes. I looked into this whole stream elements thing and like other things, and said, you know what, the old chat box that was just me docking a like a Twitch chat into the thing from OBS default, like probably not the most functional way to do that. So I looked into it. I prefer to keep things bare bones, as minimal as possible. I don't want to overload the system with all these different things, all this unnecessary peripheral nonsense. I want to keep basically a skeleton crew variant of my setup. I got VTuber, I got the microphone thing, the wavelength, got OBS for all the things, got the game itself, and that's it. That's basically it. Yeah, but not a lot going on there. Very, very few things going on behind the scenes, which is good. The less moving parts you have, the less can go wrong. So, yeah, I don't really get why people really want to add like all these extra bells and whistles to their things. It's like just additional points of fault and stuff like that. Oh yeah, and the bot, in the chat bot thing. Yeah, I added, in my opinion, the only really module that's worth having, and it's the 8-ball. 8-ball, is this gonna be good? Be fun? The answer is yes. What? Paul says Yakona. What? Okay. It doesn't know what. Okay, I don't know what that means, but I see. Yeah, without the line above, but still close enough. So yes, it is gonna be fun. I already know it is because it's already fun for me. But anyway, what are we doing? What are we doing beside that? We are now, before we can begin the process of me butchering the recap of what happened last time, we first have to, as always, take a dive outside of reality. Look, reality is whatever. It doesn't matter what's happening outside. It doesn't matter what time it is. Forget about all of that. That is irrelevant. That has never mattered, not here, and not ever. So, to remind us of that, we have valuable information. Someone from the Onion wants to talk to us, okay? And look, they're really sorry about this, but we're about to hear all about the last time they ran a marathon. Like, I know nobody wants to hear that, but we kind of have to. Like, it's unavoidable. I'm sorry, but not really. Anyways, published on July 31st, 2012. Anyway, he says that, listen, it's great catching up with us, and believe him, he's really enjoying this conversation we're having, but he's afraid he has to now do something that will make this exchange very awkward and pleasant for us. Yeah, he feels absolutely terrible about it, and so he wants to give us a fair warning. we are about to hear all about the time he just ran, about the marathon he just ran. He's truly sorry, but he's going to have to go pretty in-depth about his months of preparation, talk about all the encouragement and support he received from friends and family, and give us a mile-by-mile assessment of his state of mind and physical condition during the race. You know, he hates to say it, but it's going to take quite a bit of our time. Well, I guess it can't be helped. I guess it can't be helped now, can it? Mile split times, cramping, hydration levels, chafing. We're about to hear all of that. Plus, he'll be dwelling on one point around the 17th mile when he considered stopping, but then decided to keep going because he had already come so far. There's a lot to cover, so he wants to be upfront and apologize right off the bat. And you know, that's nice. That's very nice of him for apologizing about the things we're about to hear. And he says that this is going to be pretty unbearable. I mean, okay. I mean, we like you, Mr. Onion Man. Wait, he has a name. Michael Cowie. Cowie? I don't know how to pronounce that. Michael. Michael has apologized to us a lot of times already, so it's fine. It's fine, Michael. We understand. He'll inevitably start with how he carbo-loaded the night before the race, which by itself will not be a particularly long or objectionable story, but he wants to assure us that it will segue right into an excruciatingly detailed explanation of the diet he maintained to stay in peak physical shape. And that in turn will lead into his training regimen, his special lightweight marathon gear, and unfortunately for us, a lengthy period during which he expounds upon the health benefits of distance running. Now, he knows this isn't the kind of thing we want to listen to. Hey, no one does. I mean, I guess not. I guess not, but I mean, we're here, so we may as well. But he's going to include several anecdotes about his running partner Eric, a person we don't know and couldn't possibly be interested in hearing about. Don't make assumptions like that. Who is Eric? It might be. He might be. Oh, yeah, now I see. I looked in the OBS thing. It's an emote thingy. It doesn't appear in the stream chat here, in the OBS, but it does appear over there. Huh. I don't know who K-Kona is. I don't understand that. The reference, that's just some kind of emote of some dude in a baseball cap. Okay. Okay, sure. I'm not really engaged with the internet culture, even less the streaming culture itself. Like, I don't know, I'm just doing things on my own. I'm not interested in what's popular or trending, fuck that. I don't know who that is, and I don't really care. Anyway, moving on, we have Michael is still telling us about the, about how he is going to tell us about his marathon. Anyway, Eric, right. But yes, we'll learn that he is an attorney and a rock climber, and that they are part of a team that does the run for Leukemia 10K every year, which will be another whole 5 minutes aside right there. Sorry. That's okay, that seems like a good charitable cause. Believe him, if he could stop himself from talking about this, he would. But he can't, and so he's going to tell us all about his personal best times, and we are going to think to ourselves, this guy's the fucking worst. I mean, not yet. Not yet. I'm not thinking that yet. But here's the truly awful part. Out of politeness, we will have to pretend to be impressed by that number. Even though to us it will seem completely arbitrary and hold no meaning at all. Kinda true, yeah, I guess. I don't think it will. We will also be hearing quite a bit about the sense of accomplishment he felt upon finishing the race. We're going to hate that, trust us, trust him. There will be detestable phrases like, I never thought I could do it, but I did, and it truly was a life-changing experience, and it's a huge commitment, but definitely worth it. He'll be repeating the number 26.2 an infuriating number of times. That's an annoying number. It sounds like an annoying number. My god, he can barely express how insufferable he's going to be. Jeez. And I'm not looking forward to that at all. He's so sorry. He knows we've done nothing to deserve this. But right when we think he's finished talking, just when we get our hopes up, he'll mention how this wasn't his first marathon, and then we're going to hear details of his 3 other full marathons, as well as a half marathon and a couple of marathon relays he did. He can't even imagine how horrible it will be for us to hear how he believes He's progressed as a runner, but by that point in, there just won't be any getting around it. Shame. And while it is at best tangentially related, he may at any moment during the conversation launch into an agonizing digression on the merits of 5-day juice cleanses. He begs our forgiveness. 5-day juice cleanses. Okay? Just don't drink any crap that clogs you up in the first place. You don't need cleanses. Just drink your water. Fuck your coffee. Fuck your energy drinks. Just drink some water all the time. And maybe some juices here and there. Not for the purpose of cleansing, just because juice tastes nice. Apple juice is fine. Not a fan of orange juice. I like the multi-food stuff with the carrots in it. That's nice. I like that. Anyway, worst of all though, he's definitely going to run other marathons in the future, so he'll have to tell us all about the various races he's thinking about entering and the pros and cons of each course. Please accept his deepest apologies in advance, because as excruciating as today's discussion is, it won't end here. Every single day during his weeks of preparation leading up to the next race, he's going to make us stop whatever we're doing to tell us the number of miles he ran the previous evening. Isn't that awful? Maybe, probably. No one should have to listen to that. Probably not, no. He'll also have to tell us that we should run one of these things too. He honestly can't convey how intensely sorry he feels that these words will soon be coming out of his mouth, but he will actually say to us that if he can run a marathon, so can we. Well, I guess, well, you know what, Michael? Wow, he is really, really sorry. He doesn't know how we will be able to tolerate this. But anyway, here goes. And cut to fade to black. Never fade back into anything. Anyway, this was also a nice little exercise for me. Trying to on the spot replace words. As you may have, if you were looking at the text as I spoke, then you notice that I replaced every time he said I with him and you with us and we and stuff like that. For the purpose of some kind of purpose, I don't know. It's a mental exercise, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why I decided to do that. It just happened. Spur of the moment. There was no plan to this. But anyway, that's out of the way, out of the gate. And so, we have a, let's just clear the chat there. It should disappear, right? Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. There, first of all, I should stop caring about the chat, doesn't it? Anyway, root double before crime after days Xtend edition. Last time we got the backstories for a bunch of people. The last one was Anna. She's she's commissioner for some kind of agency, doing a thing related to parapsychology, like psychokinetic things. Her father died in the line of duty protecting Communicator A, Alice, who caused the Great Rockham City arson. That was 14 or 16 years ago, in which Watasa's sister died, causing him to go on this, path of being a rescue worker, and then some other things. But anyway, yeah, she became kind of a cold-hearted detective type person, but then they decided to send her to this school full of children to open her heart, soften it up, and then the stuff happened, I guess. What else happened? I don't remember. Oh well, anyway, moving on. I'm not gonna delve too much in there. We have cleansing, right, this little girl, Malice incarnate, purging her or its existence from the minds of the people. We still have Kazumi Tachibana to cleanse, and then we have to find Luis, who is someone who basically knows nothing about what's happening. I think, no, they did try to contact her telepathically, but they couldn't, or was cut off, or something. Anyway, she doesn't know much at all right now. She's in the most darkness about what's happening. And yes, anyway, just moving time, let's move on. Let's not dilly-dally with things I can't remember. So let's just go. Go, 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 go. Yes. We proceed with the story and everything else. So, Natsuko and Yuri return to reality after delving into Enna's mind. Yes, that's what happened. This time, he didn't have the usual headache, and his brain didn't feel like it was swaying. Oh yeah, because he didn't fight the Malice Incarnate, so it was... didn't have to strain, he was just viewing memories as normal. Not changing anything, not imprinting them or anything like that. So that's good. Most likely because Enna was not corrupted by malice. Indeed. Since he merely connected their minds using sense of sympathy, his brain and mind didn't appear to be as burdened as when he had to confront Subject N. Eventually, Enna looked at Natsuko and spoke quietly. Is it over? Yes. Any malice? None. You were given AD quickly after you found Subject N in front of the cargo lift, so you avoided it. I see. Well, that's good. After saying that, Enna gave a somewhat embarrassed smile. So you know my true identity now, then? Yes. Shocking, isn't it? I'm sorry for deceiving you all this time. It is quite a shock though, yes, but that's cool. I like that. We're getting answers, we basically have answers to everyone's backstories and everything else. Except Louise fully, and Kazumi technically we haven't delved into her mind, but like, come on, we have so many glimpses of everything else from Jun and Watase, and it's like it's more than enough. How many times have I heard that today? Natsuko wondered as he responded. Oh my god, my fucking fish brain memory. I don't remember what is he talking about. I'm sorry for deceiving you all this time. How many times have I heard that today? Natsuko wondered as he responded. Like, I literally forget some things that happened like 5 seconds ago. Because I'm not like that's... And that can be problematic if if there's ever like people in the chat like responding to things I said like 5 seconds, because there's like a 4-second delay on the stream, and then I don't shut up. I don't wait. Like, I don't really wait. So it's like, if that happens, I'm gonna be like, I don't know what you're responding to. I already forgot the thing you are responding to my weird ass comment about nothing when I was in a complete stream of consciousness mode. Like, that's just, I don't know, that's just gonna happen regularly. Like, when I talk, I don't know what the hell's happening. I'm just talking and letting my mouth move. But when I write, oh yes, I will recall all sorts of things. I will be very elaborate, very detailed and everything else. But that's too slow and that's quiet. That's pointless. Anyway, are you okay with me knowing? Well, I mean, there's not really a choice. It was the only way to prove my innocence. But please keep it a secret, okay? You too, Miss Yuri. Okay. Enna fell silent after that. A tinge of sadness filled her face. I see, it's because I read her memory. She ended up remembering many painful memories as well. For every memory that Natsuko peeked into, Enna remembered it as well. That was a fundamental rule of senses sympathy. Yes, you need the target's brain to actually reconstruct the memory for you to see it. Professor, are you okay? I mean, technically nobody's okay here. Mashiro is still just unconscious, barely alive. Natsuko has been shot 4 times and still hasn't, had proper medical procedures applied to him. Yuri was bound and gagged for a while. And everyone's just exhausted from all the fires and intensity in here like that. So no, nobody's okay. But I mean, on a relative perspective, probably more than you. Don't be silly, no need to worry about me, it's all part of my job. And with that declaration, Enna's facial expression returned to normal. More importantly, everyone listen up. Miss Sanemi is attacking Captain Kasagi right now. Oh yeah, oh that's what happened, right, she was, yes, right, I completely blanked on that, because it was such a fast thing. Hold on a second, why would Luis attack? Oh, I know, Luis must have gone crazy because of that BC, right? No, probably. Sure, fine, we can give the truth and explanations regarding that later. We don't need to add more time for explaining what Watase's situation is right now. There was no proof of that, but Natsuko just nodded for now. He had no time to explain Watase's true identity. Mr. Toitawa, Can't you send telepathy to Miss Sanumi? He should be able to. I tried, but I can't get through. Alright, because she's injected with AD, right, that's why. And I don't think Luis will lend an ear to what Watasa has to say either. Well, of course not. We know she won't. Then what if Natsuko goes to Luis and directly explains the situation to her? That should work. No, wait. He's heavily injured, you know. We can't have him do something so dangerous, can we? That is correct, you shouldn't. But he has to. Then I'll go. Okay. Huh. Eh? What will you do if you go? Save the captain, of course. And with that, Jun flew out of the room before anyone could stop her. Gee. God, I forgot. Jun's great. She just goes for it. Action. I like it. She's great. She's so impatient. Well, she's only 20 years old. And she wants to be a hero of justice. Of course, she's a bit impatient. When this kind of stuff happens. Anna spoke with a sigh as she gripped her gun. I'll go too. That girl's not going to have any strength on her own. Then I'll go too. No, literally, no. It's too dangerous, so just stay here. You are literally riddled with bullets, Mr. Tenkawa. Like, stop forgetting your limits. You are not a Dragon Ball Z character. You can't just go past your limits forever. Although we are in an anime, so it's basically the same difference, really. Yes, you can. So, will you be okay, Professor? Yeah, she should be fine. Don't worry about me. I might not look like it, but I'm a super civil servant who safeguards society from the shadows. Yeah, she's Batman. Sort of, not really. Whatever. And with that grandiose declaration, Anna left the shelter. Or more like Daredevil. Yeah, that's closer to that, isn't it? Well, not really. Anyway, whatever. I'm not too familiar with the superheroes. I haven't been keeping track of that ever since the Marvel Cinematic Universe ended with Endgame. Because, like, nothing happens after that. Who cares about what happens after that? I don't. I certainly don't. You know, everything that starts must come to an end. And I'm not gonna let something just enrapture me in a perpetual, like, just cycle of hype and continuation for the next thing. And, you know, when the next thing comes out, you're already being hyped for the next thing. And I don't like that. I don't care about that. Like, I want stories and everything to have a conclusion. I don't want them to end. I want them to conclude. There is a difference. There is a big difference. A story ends whenever someone making the story just decides to, you know, stop making the story. But it concludes when everything has been resolved and there's no more story to tell, basically. I mean, without forcing it. That's what I care about. That's what I want. And like... okay, I lost my train of thought now. Anyway, moving on. Anyway, leaving only Natsuko, Yuri, Ukita, and the unconscious Mashiro behind. Will those two be okay? Yeah, I mean, Luis isn't gonna attack them. I think... Luis still somewhat sees Professor Tsubakiam as hostile. I don't know how she feels about Jun, though. It's a good point, yeah. She might think Jun's in cahoots with Watasa since she's also a rescue worker. That's a good point. But nevertheless, if Watasa, Anna, and Jun all work together, they could probably succeed in apprehending Luis. Yes, they should be able to. 3 adults should be able to tackle and restrain a 13-year-old girl. They should be able to do that, in theory. Though someone might get hurt in the process. The adults understand that. Just don't hurt Luis more than she's already hurt, that is. And it's fine, like, look. Getting injured sometimes is just part of the process. That's unavoidable with certain circumstances, and it happens. Like at work, I accept the fact that I can get cut and bruised, and it happens. Like it just happens, okay? I accept that, and I move on. And like, you know, I don't worry about it. I don't blame anyone. I know how, you know, these little cuts happened. It's my fault, usually. And even if it isn't, you know, that's just part of the job. Anyway, moving on. Damn it. For now, let's check on Watase's situation. Natsuko tried using sense of sympathy on Watase. Yes. And immediately afterwards, Natsuko's vision switched with Watase's. Oh, Watase's running away. And panting. Oh. He could hear Watase's rough breathing and the sound of dragging feet. Watase appeared to be desperately running through a connecting passageway somewhere. Did he injure his foot? What's wrong, Watase? Are you okay? Natsuhiko. Watase seemed surprised to have heard the auditory hallucination again after so long. Don't surprise me like that. Was that telepathy? Well, yeah, but you don't need to speak out loud. We can hold a conversation if you just think the words in your head. I see. That's a big help. So, what's the current situation? This is very convenient, by the way. Very convenient. Watase thought of the answer in his head. Kinda driven into a corner here. Luis attacked me, and I'm in the middle of running away. Where are you? I'm on B2, at the connecting passageway between areas 3 and 2's outer rings. Luis twisted my ankle near D, so my foot's all messed up now. Yeah, she's agile like that. So I barely managed to escape here. It was at that moment that a sound echoed behind him. Uh-oh. Damn. So she's become the Terminator now. Fuck it out. Watase turned around to see the security gate open and Luis appear. Like, this is silly, though. This is very silly, inherently. This big Terminator of a man is running away from this little girl. Damn it, she caught me. I mean, she is intent on killing him. So, yes, she does have the advantage there in terms of her attacks are unrestrained and going in for the kill, while his have to be restrained, so he can't utilize his full force. Natsuko, send her some telepathy. It should be easy for you, right? I don't think it'll work, but... Natsuko temporarily suspended sense of sympathy with Watase to quickly send telepathy to Luis. Luis, it's me. Can you hear me? Watase is on our side. There's no need to fight. Natsuko repeatedly sent that message, and then once he reinstated sympathy with Watase's senses... It didn't work. She doesn't give a shit. He saw Luis approaching Watase. Because she's got injected with AD, thinks it's important. She showed no reaction. The telepathy clearly didn't get through. No good. She's not reacting. Looks like she's taken AD. Well, that sucks. Looks like I got no choice but to use brute force. Watase took a defensive stance. The pain in his ankle propagated to Natsuhiko. I probably can't do this without hurting her. I'm sorry, but please overlook that. She may be small, but that girl's a beast. Yes, she is. Hold on, Watase. Can you lure Luis here? I've been trying to do that for a while now, but it's been a lot harder than I thought it would be. Watase addressed Luis. Hey Luis, I just got some telepathy from Natsuhiko. Forget about me and head to Area 5. He's waiting for you over there. That's obviously not gonna work, come on now. I don't believe a word you say. It appeared Luis didn't believe him in the slightest, although shit, I wouldn't either. She was unable to imagine other people's feelings, therefore it was probably safer for her to doubt everything and trust nobody. Watase, get out of there. Go around towards Area 2, pass through Area N, and return to the shelter. You sure? Isn't Luis your... Forget it, just prioritize getting out of there for now. We're sending Jun and Professor Tsubakiyama your way right now. Natsuko ended sense of sympathy after giving that answer. Once his own senses returned, he heard Yuri's voice. Hikarin, you look kinda pained right now. Did you use sense of sympathy? Yeah, and now I know that Watase is in real big trouble right now. For now, Natsuko sent telepathy to Ena and Jun. Professor, Jun, can you hear me? Watase is currently heading towards Area 2. His foot's injured, please go help him. And then he used empathy to receive Ena's reply. Understood, Area 2 it is. She was no longer closing her heart. Ah, well that's nice. Once he confirmed she had received the message, he pondered some more. Watase is already beat up senselessly too. It's not unexpected though, considering how he's been running around for nearly 8 hours to save everyone. Yeah. In that case, I'll try too. Natsuko made up his mind and spoke to Yuri. Yuri, I'm going to Luis. I mean, that really is the only way to solve this, honestly. Huh? But Captain Kasagi said to stay here. But Miss Tachibana is the only dangerous character lurking around now. And besides, if things don't change quickly, Watase will be in even worse trouble. I can't just wait and see. He's worked himself to the bone, so I will too. Yeah, protagonist time. Yuri fell silent at those words for a second, but then she readied herself and spoke. In that case, I'll go too. You too? Yes, you cannot stop her. You don't... Natsuko, don't you dare fucking give that speech again. Not for a third time. Don't you dare give that speech that you already given to her once, 9 years ago, and to Mashiro like, 10 hours ago. Don't you fucking dare give that speech. It'll be hard for you to walk around by yourself, and if you happen to come across Lieutenant Tachibana, you might have to repair her memory on the spot, right? It's also a good point. There's no rebutting that. Natsuko was worried about taking Yuri with him, but she was indeed right. Okay, let's go together. Good character growth. He did not try to stop her. Excellent. Good. Well done. Mr. Ukita, please stay here and watch over Mashiro. Very well, but in that case... Ukita took the gun out of his pocket as he spoke. If you're going, then take this pistol with you. You might run across Miss Tachibana along the way. There are only 2 bullets left, but I suspect it'll still function as a threat. Ukita spoke in a stiff voice. They still didn't quite know what Kazumi's intentions were, so it was probably better to be safe than sorry. Understood. Man, everyone's resolving themselves to some pretty dedicated measures. Anyway, Natsuko took the pistol and slung it on his belt. Okay then, Yuri. Sorry, but can you lend me a shoulder? Not at all. Okay. Natsuko borrowed Yuri's shoulder and tottered out of the shelter. Watase squared off with Luis as he thought over the conversation he had just had with Natsuhiko. They're sending Moriba and Teach my way, huh? Guess that the kids were able to erase their malice. That just left Kazumi and the girl he was fighting right now. Yeah, there's literally no other characters here. Man, that is fascinating. That's fascinating how much conflict, like, fairly justified conflict they're able to create with just 9 characters here. Throughout this whole place. That is quite, I would say that's quite an achievement. That's good, that's solid. They're not introducing a whole row of additional characters all of a sudden in the last act or something like that. So come up as sudden, like, antagonists or whatever. Like, oh no, we were behind it the whole time. None of that. I hope they don't do anything silly like that. That would be shit. Anyway, but now I'm faced with a dilemma. How do I get away? Should I try playing things her way now? Luis lunged at him as soon as he thought that. Watase mustered his strength and pushed Luis back away with a sidestep counter. Luis, now on the floor, did a backward somersault and stood up. Fucking ninjas. Watase took the chance to turn around and run off. Uh-oh, he could tell Luis was chasing him. Pain rushed through his injured ankle with every step he took. But as long as I can get there, he soon located his goal, a security gate. Watase swept his card through the slot. And right as the gate was opening, he destroyed the card slot. What are you doing? He heard Luis. Goddamn, what was the practice? What was the point of that Onion article practice if I still mess it up here? Goddamn it. It's too exciting. I get distracted. He heard Luis shout at him from behind. Watase pressed the close button on the other side and ran into Area 2. Luis chased him. Watase stood in front of the closing gate to block her, then shouted, I know you can't trust me, but this isn't the time to be fighting. Go to Natsuko and the others. They're looking for you. Bewilderment ran through Luis's face for a second. It was at that moment that the gate shut, separating Watase and Luis. Clever. Phew, that sure was close. I have to get back to the shelter before Luis circles around to me. Watase limped on over towards the shelter. If he used Area N as a shortcut, he could get to Area 5 much faster, but he could also pass out. He steeled his resolve, dashing through the connecting passageway that led to the inner ring. Damn it, my feet hurt like hell. Will I make it? Watase endured the pain, opening the gate, only to see someone there on the other side. Oh, right, Kazumi. He thought it was Luis for a moment, but he was wrong. Someone a bit taller than her was walking towards him through the dimly lit hallway. Well, of course, Watase's eyes widened when he realized who it was. I mean, there's only one option. Hello, Kazumi. Kazumi. Yep. And she found the corpse, and that confirms all her suspicions in her slightly twisted mind now. Jeez. Yeah. Of course Kazumi found the body and took... jeez. No, not found. Remembered it was. It was none other than Kazumi. She was carrying someone in her arms. Someone with deathly pale skin wrapped in something like a hospital gown. It was the body of Subject N. The one that mysteriously vanished from the cargo lift room. Captain. Ah, jeez, this is gonna be tough. This is gonna be a tough conversation to hear, isn't it? Kazumi muttered that in a quiet voice when she noticed Watase. However, Watase was too perplexed by the sight before him. You are the one who moved the body? Yes. But why? Because this girl is my sister. Oh, shit, it went worse than I thought. Fuck. Memories of Nagisa now. Oh dear. Oh dear. Kazumi's mind is gone now, properly. We need Natsuko here to fix that. Or maybe Watase might be able to. No, probably not. But they might try that. Who knows? Because she's Nagisa. Watase felt every hair on his body sticking on end. Now that he thought about it, she called Subject N by that name when she first saw her. And because she just looks the same, looks similar. Not really. Nagisa had like pink hair as well, the same as Kazumi. Like it just resembled, so it brought back traumatic memories. But hold on, Kazumi. That girl is called Subject N. N? Well, N is the first letter in Nagisa's name. No, you've got it wrong. She's a communicator who was born in LABO. Your sister has been long... Silence. Kazumi interrupted Watase before he could finish. She then gently placed Subject N's body on the floor. After that, she settled over towards Watase. You have no right to say that at all, do you? After all, it's your fault that Nagisa died. Yes, that must be it. What? Naturally, Watase wasn't responsible for Nagisa's death 9 years ago. Yet Kazumi was looking at him with bloodthirsty eyes. How did it come to this? Hey, tell me why, Watase. 'Cause accidents happen, shit's fucked, that's why. Like, the world is just shit sometimes. There's no going around that. Why do I have to kill you? You don't have to, though. You don't. No. Kazumi's words were growing more and more devoid of any meaning. Watase started shuddering. This is bad. To think being infected with malice can drive someone this far. Kazumi's already gone insane, lost all trace of rationality. Oh dear. After leaving the shelter, Natsuko borrowed Yuri's shoulder and together they reached Area 3. Yeah. Action, everything's happening all at the same time. Luis, where are you? Luis! They called out Luis's name to find her. Not much time had passed since Watase had encountered her around here, but if Watase had gotten away from her here, then there was no telling when they'd find her. Yeah, cause she's fast. And with that thought in mind, Natsuko searched around Area 3, including the connecting passageway between the inner and outer rings, and the emergency stairs. Luis, are you around? But they couldn't find her. Crap, where is she? Literally anywhere. Maybe she went to another area. But not at the moment after they whispered that, they heard her voice. Natsuko, we can resolve this problem. There we go, they turned around. She was right there. Cool. Luis, I finally found you. There we go, we can resolve this issue now. Like, she should be receptive to his actual words, right? Explanations, right? It's gonna be a little, like, you probably need to take like 5 minutes to explain the whole thing to her, but like, come on. Luis smiled in relief and dashed towards Natsuko. Ah, hugs. Big hugs. Hugs hurt though, when you've been riddled with bullets. Luis' small head sank into Natsuko's solar plexus. Oh, she headbutted him even. That's adorable. That's adorable. I love that. But Luis paid no attention and just kept nuzzling her head against it like a cat. I was so worried. I thought that man might have killed you. It's okay. I'm a little roughed up, but I'm alive. Could you stop hurting me? Your snuggles are really painful right now. I'm riddled with bullets. Now that you mention it, how did you get here with those injuries? Oh, I borrowed Yuri's shoulder. Huh? Apparently, Luis hadn't noticed Yuri's presence until then. Tunnel vision. Luis took a long, hard look at her before murmuring in confusion. Yuri? Your childhood friend? Yes, I'm confused. Alright. God, Luis knows nothing. Right. The professor told me Yuri died 9 years ago, and that you've been seeing a phantom of her ever since. Alright. Natsuko's mother probably would have fully explained the situation to Luis before coming over here to be his protector and guard him and keep him safe like that. Right. Oh, I see. Of course Mom would have you play along with my madness. Alright, told her the lie that she kept from everyone. Right, fuck me, goddamn layers of just... Yeah. But Yuri was actually alive. Yeah, the whole time. Here, fuck me. For 9 whole years, she's been trapped in this facility just like we are now. His explanation only seemed to make Luis more and more confused. I guess it's understandable. I mean, it confused the hell out of me too. Yes, it fucked with my brain a lot as well. God damn it. Like, if I go back and listen to some of my assumptions about what happens in the story back in like parts 4 and like 9 or something like that, it's like, it gets overturned literally the next time it happens. Like, fuck me. God, this story successfully and brilliantly fucked with my brain, and I love it for that. That was what Natsuko was thinking, but immediately afterwards, Luis said something completely unexpected. Yuri? What is it? I feel like I've seen you somewhere before. Okay. Eh? Natsuko gasped. So am I, what? Even if she had heard about the phantom issue, Luis shouldn't have been familiar with Yuri's appearance. So how? What do you mean? Have you met before? It might be my imagination, but when I saw Yuri, I felt somehow nostalgic. Eh? Wait, have you met her before, Yuri? No, I think it's just your imagination. Fuck me, I'm confused. I mean, okay, who is the communicator? Who is Alice? Why does she look identical to Luis? The fuck is that? But even then those timelines don't match up. That was, like, Alice was 16 years ago. And, you know, this incident with Yuri was 9 years ago. Fuck me. God damn, they need to... God damn it. Well, yes. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Since he couldn't talk to you about me before, it just doesn't feel like this is the first time you've met me, that's all. Maybe. Does that sound about right, Luis? I don't... Yeah. That's probably it. I haven't come across you today either. And besides, the professor showed me a picture of you from 9 years ago. It's probably because I saw that. Okay. That's an innocuous explanation. Will it be turned around like every other... Well, not innocuous, but every other explanation I've been given before? You know, before revealing the truth to me? Will I get mindfucked again? I don't know, probably. I hope so, honestly. Because those are fun. Alright, so allow me to introduce myself again. Ignoring the perplexed Natsuhiko, Yuri spoke to Luis. Nice to meet you, Luis. I've heard a lot about you from Hikarin. You want to see Mashiro, don't you? She's in Area 5, so we'll take you to her. Oh, okay. Yuri took Luis by the hand and began to walk. Then I'll carry Natsuhiko. Right, cause she can. Even with a bullet in her, like a forearm. Or a bicep. She's still probably strong enough to do that. Okay, thanks. He felt a little ashamed at having such a small girl carrying him, but he didn't want to waste time debating it. Like, you're injured and she's much stronger than you. Like, deal with it. So Natsuko quickly accepted the offer. They could head straight for Area 5 by taking a shortcut through Area N. And with that thought in mind, they passed through there. Luis, are you okay? You don't feel bad anywhere? You mean because of the radiation? Yeah. I am fine. I injected AD about 40 minutes ago, so it should still be effective. My head hurts a little, but it's nowhere near as bad as the last time. That was probably because the WX particle energy levels were decreasing even in Area N. And then Natsuko suddenly remembered something. Hold on a second. Natsuko spoke up and got down from Luis's back. What is the matter? Is there a problem? Well, Yuri... Natsuko gave Yuri an eye signal and sent her telepathy. I want to check if Luis is infected with malice or not, just to be completely sure. Eh? Yuri's face froze at that message. Even if Luis is under the influence of AD, BC should probably still work on her in here, right? Yes, it should. I think we should do it while we've got the chance. Area N had a reading of over 15,000 MSV just 2 hours ago, so the reading was probably still over 4,000. But Yuri frantically shook her head. There's no need, Hikarin. Don't you believe in Luis? Ah, shit, the things, goddammit. Where is the true ending guide? There's no need. Luis, Max, Yuri 1. Okay, there we go. Yes, there is. Sorry, Yuri, we have to delve into her mind. We need the full backstory of everyone. There's no need, Hikarin. Don't you believe in Luis? I do, but what's scary about that malice is that you aren't aware of it yourself, right? Natsuko's thought was that they should just do it to make sure nothing was wrong, considering everything that could go wrong. Then let's just check to see if there are any floral scented memories or not. That's all we need to do to know if she's infected with malice or not. For some reason, Yuri was being almost uncharacteristically obstinate. What? Why is you so against the idea of diving through Luis's memories? I don't know either, but I suspect it has something to do with the fact that she looks exactly like Communicator A. Is there some sort of connection between Luis and Yuri? Who the fuck knows? Let's find out. Once he pondered that question, suddenly, a vision of what he saw from within and his memory flashed before his eyes. Yeah, there we go. The article's about the undersea witch hunt in France. A woman who looks exactly like Luis. Come on now. We picked up the details on that the moment we saw that. As well as a vision of the day Luis transferred in. I lived in the undersea. Oh, even in the same place. Oh. I forgot about that completely because that was completely irrelevant detail at the time. But man, good memory there. Communicator A and Luis are both from undersea, and they look identical. They look fucking identical. Connect the dots. They are definitely related, at the very least. I wouldn't be surprised if they are in fact the same person, actually. Because we still have the subject who was disposed of with the risk of their memories returning. Come on now, that's a thing. That's a thing. And the timelines match up, in a way, I guess. Fuck me. Because Alice supposedly died like a couple of years after she was put in place in the thing. Wait, no, she escaped. No, I'm trying to remember too many things. Anyway, there's 100%. Come on now, let's see the connection. Let's see who's what. And when he looked at Luis's face, okay, no, it's a little bit different. That one's a little bit longer there, and green eyes, greenish. Although that could be the tint of the window back then. And they are a little bit further apart. No, they're not. But yes, definitely the face is slightly longer on Alice. But the hairstyle is identical, obviously. Yeah, they are really. Come on now. He felt she somewhat resembled Communicator A. Somewhat. Somewhat. You say somewhat. Somewhat resembled. Okay. Huh? What? What's the meaning of this? Good question. He didn't understand the reason why, but he had a feeling it had something to do with Yuri's odd behavior. Since Communicator A spent the last year of her life inside LABO... Hold on a second, Yuri. There's something you know about Luis that I don't, isn't there? But, yep. Is there some sort of reason we shouldn't dive into Luis's memories? No, it's just we don't have time. It only takes a few. Diving through memories may seem like hours long, but it's only like a minute or two in the real world. So that's a bullshit excuse. Come on now, you know that's a bullshit excuse, Yuri. Don't give me that. Yuri felt silent. Yeah, don't give me that bullshit excuse. Luis then interrupted. You two suddenly went quiet. What's wrong? Well... It was too hard to explain, so Natsuko just gave a non-committal answer. It's just, there's something that we need to do, and so Yuri and I were discussing it via telepathy. Telepathy? Yuri's communicated too? Yes. Yes, I am. So can you use telepathy and empathy? And? Just those two. Well, there aren't any other BC abilities besides those two, right? Come on now. I see, you're lying to her. Come on now, Louise knows a bit more than you suspect she knows. Apparently. Apparently, that's a surprise to me too. But apparently that's true. Right after she said that, Louise took a deep breath. I have solved the mystery. Ah shit, what has she decided on? Eh? Actually, it's been bothering me a little. There are too many unnatural points about my past. Eh? There are very few details in it despite there being 13 years worth of content. Eh? Huh? Don't you think so too, Natsuhiko? Huh? Yeah. Yeah. True, Natsuko did find it somewhat bizarre that her parents wouldn't let their daughter out of the house at all, but then they would let her go to Japan to basically become a bodyguard for this kid. I'm just making noise now because like we're getting something really fucking good. What about it? I finally know the answer to the reason why that is. Louise gazed at Yuri and spoke. Yuri, you manipulated my memories, didn't you? What? But that makes sense, they released one and... Oh, yeah. So she's one of the subjects they... Okay. Natsuhiko doubted his ears. I do not doubt anything now. Not at all. That makes perfect sense. She manipulated your memories? When? Hold on. Have you two even met before? Thoroughly confused, Natsuhiko looked to Yuri. But she did not look particularly surprised. Luis, you remember? Just a little bit. When I saw your face, it sparked a memory. Oh yes. A memory of September 9th, the day before I met Natsuhiko. Eh? Wait. The keyword, memory manipulation. Area 0. Your room. I don't remember the details, but I feel like I owe an irreparable debt to you. What? Oh man, what? Luis's words confused Natsuko even further. Yes, that's an understatement. That's a fucking understatement right now. Yuri, is what Luis saying true? Upon hearing that question, Yuri nodded in resignation. Yes. The truth is, I have falsified Luis's memory once before. Why? There was no other way. There were things she needed to forget for her own sake. Yuri, can you return those memories back to normal? I can, but you might be better off not knowing, you know? That's why I manipulate your memories in the first place, Luis. Knowledge of the truth might do nothing but sadden you. Are you sure you want to know? Yes, we have to know. We can't, look, we have to. Luis answered Yuri's question on the spot. It does not bother me. Please restore my memory. I want to know the truth. I take that over living a lie. Yes. Yes, Natsuko pondered as he heard that statement. She was exactly right. Averting your eyes from the truth meant you could not move forward. Luis needed to know the truth in the same way he did. Then, should I leave it up to you, just you to dive into Luis's memories this time, Yuri? No, I want you to see too, Natsuhiko. Eh? I have a vague feeling of what the details of memories are, so I want to let you see them too. And if you don't mind, I want you to support me. Aww. Luis's honest words pierced Natsuko in the heart. Hikarin, I want you to join in too. I want you to see what it is I have done. I want you to see our past. Alright? Heck yes. Natsuko nodded at those words, and thus, hand in hand with Yuri, he tried using senses sympathy. Ooh, ah. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Piano. Ooh, classic scenery. It was a memory of when Louise was still in France. The sights she saw spread before Natsuko's field of view. Louise sat in front of a piano, thinking to herself, "My entire world lies within this estate." Eventually, Louise's tutor entered her room. "Louise, it's time for practice. What are we playing today?" The tutor answered by giving Louise her lesson plan for the day. "A new song today. Ravel's Gaspard de la Nuit. Play with feeling, with emotion." Louise nodded and began to play the song. Her pale fingers wove smoothly over the ivory keyboard. But though her hands reproduced the beauty of the emotional melodies, her heart felt nothing. Louise was born and raised inside this estate. For some reason, her parents would not let her leave the grounds. Naturally, that meant she did not go to school. Instead, she was surrounded by the company of tutors of all sorts and received training in just about every field imaginable. And perhaps as a result of the tutor's excellence, or perhaps the brilliance of Louise's all-encompassing talent, it's a bit of both. Louise had barely reached the age of 10 when she had gained a pool of knowledge both deep and wide. I'm not sure how accurate that can be. Though, I mean, 10-year-old mind is still not mature enough yet. You physically have not had time to process all of the memories and incorporate them into your core personality. It's still way too malleable, way too, unfocused, way too fresh for that to be, properly true. But anyway, it's just as Louise told us. Natsuko thought to himself as he watched that memory. The sight before him agreed with what Louise had told him of her past a few days ago. But at that moment, Yuri's voice echoed in his head. "That's not it, Hikarin. This memory is a fake, a false memory I created." I knew it. Yuri had already told him that she had falsified Louise's memory, but why would you do this? Because there was no other way to save her. What's that supposed to mean? Let me restore the memory to how it was before I falsified it. Louise's real memory. At the moment Yuri muttered that... Oh dear. The sight before them faded like mist. And beyond the veil of mist lied another, different sight. What is this? It's a prison. Yuri continued as Natsuko recoiled in bewilderment. This poor girl has been shouldering a fate even more cruel than mine. So, please, support her. So she is Alice's daughter, isn't she? She has to be. That's the only thing that makes sense now. It was a cold, gloomy room, almost like a prison. Louise stood still in that room, thinking to herself, "My entire world lies within this facility." Facility? That word triggered red flags in Natsuko's mind. When the door opened, it was not the tutor that entered the room. "Yui, come out." Oh, she's been in LABO the whole time? Goddamn Miyoko, she's involved in everything. Fuck me. But the woman Natsuko knew very well. God damn it. Miyoko is involved in everything. Fuck me. God damn. I mean, of course she is, but god damn it. Everything. It's time for experiments. This music is not appropriate. I don't feel like this music is appropriate. Listen to this. I really don't feel like this is appropriate music for this scenery. And just the tone, the mood, the everything, the revelations that we're about to encounter. As Dr. Tengawa entered the room, Louise asked her a question. Whose memory are we transferring today? Oh my fucking god. Professor Emeritus Kagano, an authority on fluid mechanics. So that's how she knows. Wait, no, that. Okay, let's just move on. Fluid mechanics. Not interested. You might actually find it interesting once you understand it, you know. So... bollocks, what? After all, it only takes a moment. Dr. Tengawa was indeed right. Louise nodded and followed her outside the room. Other researchers were waiting outside. Fucking hell. What the fuck? What the fuck? God damn it. I don't even know what to think. This is fucked. This is just like, what the fuck? God damn it. I need a moment. I need a moment. God damn it, I need a moment to just. Okay, I need. Let's take a sip of water, because fucking hell. Bloody hell. Okay, all comes back to LABO and Area Zero and Miyoko Tenkawa and. Bloody fucking hell. Okay. Jesus Christ. Okay. I'm sorry I'm being like nothing's happening, but like I need a moment, and I think if you've been following along the story, you need a moment to just also take in the everything. The everything. Okay. 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 Fucking hell. Man, okay. I think I'm mentally okay. Maybe almost. Bloody hell. Okay. 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 Okay, I think, are we ready to continue with this? Are we ready to continue with this? Everything's a lie. Even after we gained the ability to see all the truth, there's still, god damn it, there's more, god damn it. God bloody damn. Okay, we need to go into like his mother's brain to see all the truths there. Because, like, this is just, like, I just, it's breaking my mind, this game, this story. God damn it, well, fucking good job. It's just, okay, fine. Other researchers were waiting outside. They brought Louis through the underground garden and stopped in front of Subject N's room. There, they blindfolded Louis and bound her feet and hands. Beyond that door was Subject N. Anyone who wanted to meet her had to be either completely bound or injected with AD. Dr. Tenkawa and the other researchers opened the door and brought Louis into Subject N's room. Welcome back. They heard Subject N's voice. The researchers soon responded. We're starting now, Subject N. Starting memory transfer experiment phase 2, trial 316. 351 is the maximum, so they're just a little bit away. From number 3, Subject N, to number 2, Subject Y. Begin senses sympathy. Okay. And with that signal, a flood of information flowed into Louis's head. It was the memory of the Fluid Mechanics Authority, or whoever it was that Dr. Tenkawa spoke about earlier. Louis groaned. Though it only took a moment each time, Louis could never get used to that feeling. Even though it was only memories that were being written onto her brain, it felt like even her own mind was being rewritten. Done. But as soon as Subject N gave the word, the bizarre sensation faded. Roger that. Now withdraw Subject Y. Fuck. God damn it. This is gonna be a wild ride for me to like go back to this series sometime in the future and just listening to everything I read out or saw and my thoughts on the matters and everything. Like, fucking hell. Well, Louis was then taken out of the room again. Once they were in the underground garden, Dr. Tenkawa took out her PDA and handed it over to Louis. Yui, try solving this problem for me. On her PDA screen was a problem relating to fluid mechanics. In August 2015, a solid body flow pattern was confirmed near Jupiter's south pole. The following data table represents a two-dimensional model of that flow pattern. Based on the data, explain the mechanism behind the information, the formation of the flow pattern. Roger. Louis took the PDA and smoothly solved the problem. Dr. Tenkawa looked at Louis's solution and then spoke. Yes, that is correct. Naturally. It was no surprise, for that problem itself was made by the very same Fluid Mechanics Authority whose memory Louis now had. Thus, there was no conceivable way Louis would not be unable to solve it. Successful memory transfer confirmed. Memory transfer experiment phase 2, trial 316 complete. Dr. Tenkawa spoke those words into a voice recorder and then addressed Louis. That finishes up your work for today. Let's head back to your room.
わかった。
Understood. And with that answer, Dr. Tenkawa brought Luis back to the room she started out in. This was Luis's one and only unconditional role. To be a part of LABO's 4 years and going memory transfer experiment. The subject matter of the experiment was simple. First, LABO would invite guests with technical expertise to come to the facility. After putting a guest to sleep with drugs, they would quickly bring them to Subject N's room. Just this, so it's not. Oh, fuck me. This is just fucked. This is just fucked. Like, there's no way around it. This is just fucked. I can't even. Like, I don't even. It's all bad. It's all bad, LABO. Burn this fucking place to the ground. Like, I understand they need to figure this BC stuff out, but you can do it ethically. You can do it with consent at least, or something like that. But not this bullshit. This is bullshit. This is just the worst. This is just one of the worst things. Like, oh, fucking hell. Their subject then would apply sensors simply to steal off the guest's knowledge. A skilled level 6 communicator is able to handle memories inside the human mind almost as if they were digital data. The communicator could copy and paste the memories into their own mind, as well as bestow their own memories to a third party. Such tasks were easy, assuming one could manipulate cerebral BC particles at will. Furthermore, the entire process took only a negligible amount of time. The guest would be left with a memory gap, but all subject then had to do was fill it in with a fabricated memory. Once the drugs were off, and the guest woke up, they would not remember a thing. They would not even be aware that anything had happened to them. That's just fucked. It was an extremely efficient, perfectly imperceptible theft of trade secrets. Oh, I guess that too, but like, that's like, I don't give a shit about that. It's the fact that there's no consent and this is fucking illegal as shit. This is like illegal as shit. This is literally kidnapping and just, awful. Just absolutely unacceptable. This kind of this is just real bad. I do not approve at all of this entire facility. Like, god damn it. Like, there are ways to do this kind of stuff ethically. You inform people, you tell them about this thing. Like, because this stuff exists, and, like, sure, someone might burn the facility to the ground, and there might be damage, but, like, you know, communicators and this stuff exist. Like, you can't kill them off, because, you know, what if your child is born with this ability? Because it's just a random mutation, more or less. So, what, you're gonna burn your own child, then? Fuck no, I've talked about this before, I believe. Mentioned something like this. Like, it's just the thing that's gonna happen. It's a transitional phase, and transitions are often very painful and very difficult. But you can't create a secret transition. Like, they've tried that before in the past. Whenever, like, governments and stuff, like entities like that try to do something in secret to advance really major things, like, it doesn't go well. The public does not appreciate not being told what they're doing. Like, especially if you're like some kind of government agency writing some kind of bill that would change everything about a certain like system in your country or something like that. And then one day you suddenly reveal this like 1,000-page document and with all these plans, everything that you kept, that nobody on the outside knew about existing. And I am referencing a very specific thing that happened in the 90s in America. But I'm not going to go like actually specifics here, because I don't remember the exact specifics as well, so I may be off on some regards there. But the gist of it is, doesn't, like, you gotta put it out in the open. It's a lot easier to put things out in the open for people to accept them for what they are, because, well, it's just right there. It's right there. It's happening. Well, what are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it? It's real. It's there for all to see. You can, you know, test it out, see that it works. And it's like, you know, you can't really do anything about that. And like, we've seen that, again, in America, because I do follow the news there. It happened a few years ago, some time ago, whatever. Like, you know, if you just say things out loud, you don't, like, you know, you don't dog whistle, you just bullhorn it. And it's like, well, it's out there. What are we gonna do about that? It's just there now. And people just kind of accept that and adapt to the things that are part of their life now. So just lessons learned from this fucking thing. If it's something related to how the human population is naturally changing, it has to be public knowledge. Just, explain what you're doing, how you're trying to figure out what's happening and how it's affecting your things. Just put it out in the fucking public space. People will just, many people will try to reject it, but, you can only reject a reality for so far and for so long before it just hits you, becomes a part of your thing. Your neighbors are, have this thing that you don't like. But what are you gonna do? Are you gonna kill your neighbors? Are you gonna move out? Well, it's just gonna keep happening. What? You're gonna try to force everyone out somewhere? That's not gonna work. That never works. So it's like, transitions are painful. It can be very, very difficult. But they have to happen. And it's one of those things that's best to just do a band-aid approach of just rip it off. Don't hide anything. Don't hide the problems. Well, not really. Not the problems that change. Don't mask them. Yeah, it's not really an injury. It's a bad metaphor that I said there. But anyway, I'm digressing a lot. But that's what happens here. That's what happens here. Anyway, moving on. The backbone of an industrial espionage effort created by LABO, Rokome City, and a certain corporation. It's a well-planned system. That was what Luis thought. There were several ways of inviting the guests as well. Sometimes they'd be invited directly with made-up business, sometimes they'd visit LABO of their own accord. Rokome City Hospital was yet another entity in on the deal, and thus there were cases where they had drugged patients who had useful knowledge and transported them to LABO. Just every single fucking paragraph is making this worse. God damn, this is just... Jesus. Thus, LABO obtained knowledge from visiting guests and applied that knowledge for use in its own facility. Forget Yuri's testimonies, this is way more relevant. Luis's memories. Just to bring down the whole fucking thing. God, this needs to be publicized. Fully and openly, with proof and data, and Miyoko Tenka, well... I guess Natsuko's mom's gonna have to go to prison, because, this is just absolutely unacceptable. It's just way too much, it's too big of a scale, it's just too... she's too involved in all this. Sorry, Natsuko, but your mom is feel guilty of a lot of stuff. I mean, you are too, but it's incidental. You accidentally didn't know what you're doing. You're a teenager, well, you're a minor. So, yeah, you might get a slap on the wrist and don't do it again, but your mom? Nah. A happy ending is where there's justice had, and that justice includes some of the characters in this story going to prison at the end of it for a very long time. A lot of them. Some of the ones who need to go away to prison for a very long time, forever maybe, are already dead, such as Eriguchi and Kashiwagi or something like that, those two researchers who died then. But there's still plenty of faceless bureaucrats and businessmen and CEOs and stuff like that. Well, not CEOs, but the board of directors of all these corporations, stuff like that, that are also at fault for this kind of just the everything. This is just brazen and completely awful. Fuck me. Fucking hell. In its greed, LABO also stole trade secrets that had no direct relation to BC in order to sell them off to other research facilities they had connections with. Luis's role was to be one of the final cogs in the process. All of the memories and knowledge Subject N stole from the guests were transcribed onto Luis's brain. As a backup, so to speak. Luis was thus a spare brain for Subject N. That said, Luis didn't think much about it. She had already been burdened with that role for as long as she could remember. Just once or twice a week, the professor would come bring her to Subject N's room and back, just like today. And as long as she did that, she received all her living necessities. All necessities except for freedom, that is. Good work today. Dr. Tenkao thanked her as always. But Luis noticed her voice was just a little bit quieter than usual. Professor, what's wrong? It's nothing. I'm just a little tired. We've been busy recently, you see. Luis was relieved. As long as the professor said so, it was probably just that. I'm sorry, but I've got matters to attend to, so I'll be going now. I'll show up again later. When's the next appointment? It might not be for a while, actually. Subject N hasn't been well lately. I see. Luis felt glad that she wouldn't have to deal with that troublesome sensation, but at the same time, she felt a little lonely that the appointments were diminishing. I'll be sure to tell you when an appointment's scheduled. See you later. And with that, the professor left the room. Louise gazed at the shut door. As long as nobody opened that door from the outside, it would never open. Louise thought she would have a bit of free time until the next time the professor came. Louise herself wasn't quite sure how long this had continued, since such a trifling past had sunk to the bottom of her vast, often rewritten pool of knowledge. But what she did remember was that when she was younger, she had a different sort of role. If I'm not mistaken, that was the experiment to inundate the body with WX particles. In those experiments, Louise was exposed to a WX particle-filled environment created in Area N for extended periods of time. Exposure to such an environment could artificially raise BC aptitude, or at least that was the goal of the experiment. But Louise showed no results. The experiments failed, leaving her with a rank F aptitude she was born with. Compared to back then, any experiment would be better. Louise was thankful that those experiments had ended 5 years ago. The current memory transfer experiment hadn't had a single failure. So 5 years ago, but so she's 13 now. This happened okay, experiment 315, the breaking point is 351. So that's at least probably, if it's 1 or 2 appointments a week. So that's, let's be pessimist, no, let's be generous, say 2 experiments a week. That's still 20 weeks, 5 months or so before shit went down here. But fuck, it doesn't matter, she's 13 now. Doesn't matter how far back in past we go, she's a child at every point in this process. So it's it's just I want to punch something. I'll be honest, I want to punch something. I really want to punch something just to get this, just to manifest these raw, confused feelings I have, these mixed feelings about everything. It's just everything. Okay, let's continue. This is really fucking with my brain in a different way. Anyway, the current memory transfer experiment hadn't had a single failure. Unlike the experiments in the past, these ones have a different purpose. Although she was a backup, Louise was unable to leave and had gained all sorts of knowledge. She proved that even knowledge of how to perform physical techniques could be inherited. Okay, interesting. Techniques, sure. Is your body flexible and strong enough to actually perform those techniques, though that's a different matter. You can't inherit muscle mass. You actually have to train that up. By the age of 6, she had a complete understanding of Kant's critique of pure reason and was able to identify its points of issue from an existential perspective. I guess since she's gaining literally decades worth of memories about certain subjects every time, that's sure. That actually does make sense. She does have full understanding of that then. Fuck me though, come on. This is just fucked. let's not allow this soothing little music take away from the fact this whole scenario, this everything that's happening here with these kids is just purely fucked up in every way. I just this is just experimentation, complete imprisonment, kidnapping, theft, just really bad. Everything here is bad. Everything that's happening in this scenario is bad. All the people involved except the experimentees and the victims are bad. Miyoko Tenkawa is probably the worst one of them all because she's just going along with all of this. Sure, she might have reasons, but doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if she has a sympathetic past and a good reason for doing things like that. Fuck that. Still fucking evil, basically. This is just I don't going into just pure black and white kind of dichotomies of good and evil, but this is just fucked. This is just really fucked. By the age of 7, she solved the mystery of the zeta function that had been plaguing mathematicians across the globe. She also proved the Riemann hypothesis. By the age of 8, she inherited the knowledge of an elderly pianist and successfully played the extremely difficult piano piece Gaspard Delanoux. By the age of 9, she had learned all sorts of athletic techniques ranging from artistic gymnastics to ball games and martial arts. By today, at the age of 10, Louise had the knowledge of 316 specialists of all sorts of fields packed within her brain. And thus I became a monster. No, you're not. You're a person just with things that normal people don't have typically. Stop using the word monster. It doesn't apply here. To anyone really, except Subject N, who literally lost a sense of self and control over her own actions and decision making. Just became malice incarnate, acting on instinct. That's a monster, effectively, yes. Like, that description there does apply. Like, the amount of knowledge in Louise's brain had undeniably exceeded the apparent limit for human beings. Well, it's not. Brain has a massive amount of capacity, yes. Especially a young brain like this that can just adapt. It's still growing, nothing's set in stone there at all. So it really works, once again, if you want to do experiments on the limits of the human body, and like from a biological perspective, experiment on kids. That's what they all do in like sci-fi things, and just fiction in general, like the Witchers in the the Witcher series, or like Space Marines in the Warhammer 40k. You take kids because their bodies are malleable like that. Like in fiction, that's how it works. It's fucked up, but that's how it works there. But like this isn't like a ridiculous magic setting or like ridiculous bullshit futuristic horror theme almost setting. This is supposedly real life with a bit of psychic abilities added to it, just a sprinkling dash of fiction. And it's like the closer it is to reality, the more fucked up these things are. And like, god damn. Like, okay, fine. I'm sorry I keep repeating the same thing over and over again, but this is really fucked up. I want to drive that point home, and I just can't let that go, and I'm not gonna let that go. Yeah. Her swelling pool of knowledge was her entire life's history, and before she knew it, it was the very proof of her existence. Just 3 weeks later, and just as Dr. Tekawa had implied, there wasn't a single experiment since that last one. Louise spent the whole time alone in this room reading a book. What she read was a sci-fi novel based on the themes of self and memories. The story involved a scientist attempting to create an electronic brain with a sense of self, and in that process was the following excerpt. The self is formed by memories. Humans decide their wills and behaviors based off of their own memories of the past. But I still do not quite understand the process behind this formation of the self. It's very complicated, and that is correct. Yes, we are just a collection of our memories and how they interact and interpret one another. And the decision that we made and the feelings that we have, it's all memories, just different kinds of memories. Ones they can't really verbalize or describe in any way. But even emotions are just memories, not just how to behave in certain things, unconsciously even. If one were to gather a sufficient number of memories, would that necessarily form a self? Not necessarily. They have to be varied memories. Because if you have just the same memories over and over again, basically, of the same type, it's not really going to provide you any points of comparison or like there's no distance between one another to fill in the gaps of. There's no gaps if it's all just in a single point. Am I making sense? I don't know. I'm just trying to also get away from the sense of just everything being fucked up in this place. And it's like, one would assume that as more and more memories are accumulated, the self would become more and more defined. Not necessarily. The quantity of memories is a bit less important than about the variety of memories. Let's take, for example, the process through which an infant first begins to speak. After an infant is born and they hear their parents speak, the infant gradually appears to memorize sounds. At first, the infant does not know how to utilize its memories, but one day, as if the puzzle pieces in the infant's brain finally snap into place, their countless disjointed memories become one connected network. I mean, it's not really disjointed, it's just like they're trying to figure out those connections. It's a continuous process. It doesn't suddenly snap into place. It takes a while. It's gradual. I see, so that's it. Stringing these sounds together in a way to convey my will to other people. And thus the infant begins to speak, and its once isolated self connects with the outer world. This is one process of the formation of the self, and as the infant connects its accumulated memories, it uses them to further nurture its own self. But does this effect only apply to the brains of living beings? Well, no. Why would it? Why would it be limited like that? As you and I both know, no matter how much data you store on a high-capacity disk, the disk does not spontaneously form a self. Well, yeah, it doesn't have a process for those memories interacting with each other. That's kind of essential. It has to have a network. You can't just store memories and suddenly they form connections. No, of course not. It needs to have these bridges between them, and then interactions from those lead to the formation of the self. You can't just data itself is meaningless without interpretation of it. Why is such an ordinary occurrence in nature impossible for human hands to recreate? That novel's content was philosophical, so it was far detached from the type of adventure stories that Louise liked. But she still found some parts thought-provoking. Maybe I'm something like the high-capacity disk this protagonist mentioned. What's particularly similar is how neither of us chooses the knowledge we gain. But there was nothing to be gained by just pondering that fact. She perceived herself, others, and everything in the environment around her simply as the way they were. Just then, the door finally opened again after weeks of being shut, and in walked the professor. Yui, come out. For an experiment? No, today is a physical examination. Let's go to Area 5. That would mean Louise would make the rare departure from Area 0. Since she was a little fed up with the tedium, Louise happily nodded at the professor's words. Okay, going back to Alice, subject, communicator A. They're identical in appearance. And someone was born in LABO. It's not necessarily subject N now, is it? Louise could have been born here as well. And her mother, Alice, died during childbirth. That's a potential. That's a possibility, right? That's a possible thing that would explain the resemblance. Oh no, I'm just speculating. I'm trying to get away from the whole messed up nonsense that is LABO. Bloody hell. Anyway, Louise walked with the professor down the hallway to the neuroscience laboratory. Along the way, Louise asked the professor a question. Professor, I heard I was an orphan. That's right. When you were an infant, you were in an orphanage in France that went bankrupt, and so I took custody of you since you had nowhere to go. That sounds fake. That sounds fake. Why were you in France? At this orphanage, that's... sure, weird things happen. People are in weird places in their entire lives, but that just sounds like fake bullshit. The professor answered without any change in her facial expression. But Louise shook her head. Lies. I was born in LABO, wasn't I? I'm the child of a former LABO test subject, aren't I? Those words stopped the professor in her tracks. Who told you this? Confirmed. Aha! The man whose memories were transferred the other day had knowledge of that information. Is it true? It is. Okay. The professor spoke in a shameful voice. Good, at least she has some shame. And then she continued in a tone of consolation. I know it might come as a shock to you, Yui. Not particularly. All she thought was, oh. The circumstances of her birth were irrelevant to changing anything about her future. Good point, yes. But she was still curious about something. Who were my father and mother? If I tell you, can you promise to never bring up this topic again? Promise. And with that, Dr. Tegawa took a deep breath and answered. Okay, the mother we know, who's the father, I guess. Your mother was a French woman named Alison Flamme. The very first rank as aptitude communicator discovered in the world, 13 years ago, in the time when PC was just starting to gain recognition. She was designated as Communicator A and became the trigger that led to LABO's establishment. Where's my mother now? After you were born, she passed away due to postpartum complications. Then my father? Your father was a LABO researcher named Eishi Azumi. Oh, that guy. The administrator in charge of Alice at the time. Okay, so those two had a thing. He fell in love with Alice while she was confined. Love? By the time Alice was confined in LABO, she was already infected with a terrible mental condition. But there were times when she would regain her sanity. She often told us, please kill him. Oh, goddamn. Well, it was hard for me to bear, but it must have been even tougher on Mr. Azumi since he was in charge of her. Eventually, his sympathy and compassion turned into romantic feelings for her. The two of them began to hold secret rendezvous. Alice too established an emotional bond with him during her fleeting periods of sanity, and then you were conceived. Oh, what happened to him afterwards? Before you were born, he died in an accident during an experiment. Louise consolidated all of that information in her head. She quickly concluded the circumstances behind her birth. So is this what happened? A researcher impregnated a confined test subject. LABO tried to cover up the scandal. I really like Louise's bluntness though. That's excellent. Yes, that's what happened. To put it bluntly and honestly, yes. Yes, it's bloody fucking hell. But the test subject was a top communicator, so the child would possibly be born a communicator as well. LABO wanted a test subject they could follow from birth, so instead of abortion, they had the mother carry the child to term. I am that child. Is that it? No. LABO's ethics hadn't sunken that low at the time. That low. It was still very low back then, so, like, that's not really saying much, honestly. Miyako, come on now. It wasn't until her 6th month that Alice was discovered to be pregnant. Without her already being on the cusp of her 3rd trimester, abortion was impossible. I understand now. This facility started going crazy after Mr. Azumi died. But you're still going along with it. Like, the fact that you're aware of all this, that's really bad, makes it worse for you, honestly. There's like you're complicit in all this, Miyako. Like, there's no getting around that. That man was the conscience of LABO. But I've been confined here as a test subject even after all that. For what reason? Because you have no living relatives, and it was thought it would be too hard for you to live on your own. That's what orphanages are for. You can just, like, That and the top brass didn't wish for you to live outside. Well, yeah, it's a prime test subject in their eyes. Like, just like, hands sunken that low. Yeah, not really a not a ringing endorsement. I'm sorry, I've got nothing but excuses. Yeah, and they're shitty excuses. Dr. Tenko muttered that bitterly. Louise sighed and asked another question. I didn't have any aptitude at all. I'd be useless to LABO, wouldn't I? You were given roles so that wouldn't be the case. The WX particle exposure experiment was part of it. The energy amounts were managed so that they would not have any lethal effects on your body. Great. That's fucking reassuring. Even the official stance was that your existence wouldn't be without meaning as long as those sorts of experiments persisted. Literally just a lab rat. Then the same probably went for the memory transfer experiment. Ever since long ago, Louise did not think it was a particularly useful experiment. There was no meaning behind turning a test subject into a prodigy if she couldn't leave LABO. But not even Louise wanted to think about what happened to test subjects whose existences lost meaning. As Louise's thought process reached a dead end, the professor spoke up. Say, Yui, you can at least believe in this. You are not an unwanted child. You are a product of your parents' love for one another. Sure, consolations, I guess. That doesn't matter either way. But if neither of my parents were around, then who named me? Eh? My name, Yui. Who named me that? Louise's designation was Subject Y. But Dr. Tekawa was the only one to call her Yui, and only when the two of them were alone. I did. Because your parents both died before they could name you. Why that name? I wanted to give you that name to my daughter if I ever had one. Yui is because I wanted to raise a girl wrapped in gentleness. Do you hate it? No. It's not particularly uncomfortable here. You're gentle too, Professor. Sure. Above all, you gave me a name, so I like it. The professor's eyes widened at those words. She then hung her head without saying anything. Louise peeked into the professor's face. Professor, why are you crying? The professor said nothing. The only sound in the quiet hall was the soft pitter-patter of falling teardrops. Okay. That's... like... Sure, you can cry all you want. You can lament the poor ethics of this facility, all the crimes it's committing constantly, regularly. But... No, 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 no. Nah, I got no sympathy for her, honestly. It's a shitty position, but it's been like a decade plus since she decided to just be part of it. Over a decade, yeah, literally. Like, yeah, it's complicated, but it's still, like, they're all complicit in this kind of stuff. It's not good look. There's no good outcome for Miyako Tenkawa. There can't be. That would be unacceptable. I would not accept, some kind of ending where she's all forgiven and everything else. Like, no. That's unacceptable. That would be bullshit. That would be bullshit. At the end of the story, Miyako goes to prison. Watase goes to prison. LABO is shut down. And arrests all the other researchers who are still alive. Ukita goes to prison as well. Jun Casimir just commended for their, just good service in the name of, rescuing things and whatnot. And the 3 kids, fuck, what do we do with the kids? It's complicated. Natsuhiko is, god, like, yeah, fuck me, I don't even know. It's way too bloody complicated. Jesus Christ. Alright. A few days after the abrupt physical examination, the uneventful days continued a little while longer. Louise had finished reading all of the books the professor bought for her, but even so, there were no incoming plans for experiments. She started to get anxious. Did something happen? Louise looked towards the door that would not open. Childhood's End, that's the name of the chapter. She didn't have a childhood to begin with. It never... something that didn't begin can't end. The same way that something that starts has to end. If it hasn't begun, then it can't end. So that's bullshit. The title as well. She had thought that the days would repeat the same way forever. That the professor would come into the room like usual and take her for another experiment. In any case, something strange. But there was no way for her to find out the cause behind the situation. Also, that explains why Miyako Tenkawa is basically never home, because she literally has a surrogate family here. She has 2 surrogate daughters in this facility. In quite different conditions, though. So, it's really just... I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to think. It's a really just a situation. Right as she pondered what to do, the door opened. Professor, Louise called out reflexively. Yui. What's today's experiment, Professor? Louise was happy to see the professor, thinking her arrival meant the return of life as usual. But something was different that day. I'm sorry, Yui. The memory transfer experiment has been terminated. You're no longer participating in experiments. Louise doubted her ears. In other words, she had been released from her one and only duty. Why? Subject then has lost her individuality, and the experiments cannot continue with her in that state. You don't mean enification? She remembered hearing that term before, but what she couldn't remember was if she had heard it with her own ears or if it was a copy of someone else's knowledge. But what she knew for sure was that once enified, communicators did not return to normal. Perhaps 6 years of experimentation were too much for her brain to handle. 6 years, and she was like, what, a 9-year-old child? What, or something like that young? God, bloody fucking hell. Like, just, like, I don't know. Like, man, this is, like, god damn it. Like, no, I'm serious. I really, like, the only happy ending, the true ending, is for people to go to jail for this kind of stuff. Like, that's the happy ending. Like, police sirens and handcuffs, and, a judge sentences something. It's not gonna be public hearings. Nothing's gonna be public here. God, it's gonna be covered up, isn't it? It can't be, though. Like, you can't do that. My mind is breaking from this. What about the new communicator? There's someone designated as Subject Y too, isn't there? It's been decided that she won't participate in the memory transfer experiment. She's the last communicator LABO has, so she cannot be exposed to any risk of enification. So the experiments can no longer continue. No, Louise shouted before she realized it. She clung to the professor and spoke with a trembling voice. Please do more experiments, Professor. I can't stand being a meaningless existence. Cramming in memories is the meaning of my existence. I'm an empty void maybe for that purpose, aren't I? No, God, no. Please don't take my role away from me. I'm sorry, Yui. It's too dangerous to continue the experiments. Your brain's been negatively affected too. Have you not noticed any symptoms? If we are not mistaken, your self-consciousness has been growing to extreme heights, but in turn, you've been losing the ability to understand others' feelings. Lies. Okay then, Yui, can you tell how I'm feeling right now? I can. Then tell me. Dr. Tekawa smiled. Her smile was a key detail for Louise to judge. Louise felt like she was making a serious mistake somewhere, but she started her judgment nonetheless. You're having fun? The moment Louise gave her the answers, a tear suddenly welled up in the professor's eyes. The professor cried while still smiling. Professor, what does that facial expression mean? It's okay. You don't have to think about it anymore. The professor hugged Louise's shoulders as she spoke. You're already at the limit. I swear I will do everything I can, so please. Her voice was gentle. So gentle that even Louise could just barely recognize that the professor was worried about her. But none of that mattered to Louise, for she was now aware that she had been cut away from the world, and she shuddered at the loneliness. A long time passed after that. Louise's voice echoed throughout her room. 195, 196, 197. She was counting push-ups. 200. Louise finished her training and took a deep breath. Phew. Louise thought to herself as she wiped off her sweat. Exercise is good. If I move my body until it gets sore, it takes my mind off of unnecessary thoughts and I can really feel the results. She finally became able to use the extensive physical techniques that had been written onto her brain. That said, she couldn't practice gymnastics or track and field techniques in her room. Louise's favorites were things like simple muscle training and martial arts. The kata training mentioned in methods in Japanese martial arts were particularly suitable for her needs since they allowed for her honing of one's combat skills even in the absence of a partner. She imagined enemies in front of her to fight. She had already fought countless times with these shadows. Recently, she had been fighting several of these enemies in quick succession. She could really feel herself getting stronger. Though of course it's all meaningless in the end. But as she was shut off from the world, Louise had no proof of her own existence aside from animalistic responses like growth and fatigue. Training, reading, those two things had become Louise's entire life. Louise took a shower in the bathroom her room was furnished with. There was nothing for her to do afterwards, just sleep. She changed into her sleepwear and crawled into bed. And soon enough it came time for lights out and the room went dark. The professor didn't come today either. The professor had made it a habit to come up with some sort of reason to go see Louise each day, but these last few days even that had come to a halt. Is she busy seeing other test subjects? The more she thought about it, the more frightened she became. She tried to stop thinking, but she still had a hard time going to sleep. Louise shut her eyes in the darkness, but after a short while, the lights suddenly turned on. She almost feared that morning had come before she had fallen asleep. But as soon as that thought crossed Louise's mind, the professor rushed into the room. Yui, are you awake? Professor? The professor rarely visited at this hour. Confused, Louise got up from the bed. I'm awake. What is it? Yui, what if I told you I could get you out of here? Eh? Louise gasped at the professor's words. What makes you say that all of a sudden? I finally gained permission. Let's come to a decision now before the top brass changes their minds. Lies. There's no way that's possible. Yeah, I kinda don't believe that as well. Louise was shaken up by these unexpected words. But the professor spoke clearly. You're right. The upper brass naturally didn't approve of you leaving LABO. Understandable. If I spoke of LABO's internal state, it could jeopardize the facility's administration. Which should absolutely happen. So that's why I came up with one condition. We will fabricate Yui's memory and erase all her memories relating to the true state of LABO. That's really fucked up though as well. In exchange, you will be set free. And that was the definitive promise we agreed on. Louise was surprised for a second, but when she thought about it, her continued existence in LABO had long since lost its meaning. After losing her role as a test subject, Louise had apparently already been treated as discarded. And as long as she had lost her memories of the facility, then even LABO would benefit from getting her out of there. Yui, answer me honestly. Do you want to leave here and be free? Louise did not understand why she answered the way she did at the time. Before this moment, not once had she ever held that hope. And yet, I do. Louise declared with distinct clarity. That was the first decision she had ever made for herself in her 13 years of life. She chose her own future. Well said, Yui. I'll grant you freedom, as well as a new role. The professor took Louise by the hand and out of the room. Another test subject will be performing the memory manipulation. Another test subject, subject Y2. The professor nodded. Louise hadn't seen subject Y's face, Y2's face, but she had heard of her designation. There was a communicator called subject Y2 in the room next to Louise's. The professor took Louise to that room and opened the door. Behind the door was a sweet-looking girl. Nice to meet you, Yui. Hello, Yuri. I'm Yuri. Yuri Katno. She's the communicator who will be performing the memory manipulation. It's a pity that we'll have to say goodbye as soon as we're done, and you'll forget your memory of me. But I won't forget you. Ah, jeez. I'm sorry. Louise frantically tried to decipher Yuri's feelings as she gave that answer. Louise would be set free. Yuri would stay confined. That was unfair. So Louise thought that Yuri might be sad, but no need to apologize, okay? I'm really happy. Because I can set you free with my power. Why was she happy? Why was she lying? Was she lying or telling the truth? Louise had no idea. But from the bottom of her heart, Louise wished for those words to be true. Soon the professor took medicine out of her pocket. Yui, take this medicine. What's this? It's a powerful sleep medication LABO often uses. Take this and everything will be over while you're asleep. Once you wake up, you'll be living in the house and the outside world as my distant relative. A legal identity has been prepared for you under the name of Louise Yui Sannomiya, a half-Japanese, half-French girl. Sannomiya? Sannomiya is my maiden name. Louise is a name that means renowned warrior. Not bad. The professor handed Louise the medicine. After a moment's hesitation, Louise swallowed it. It didn't take long before her head began to go hazy. Yui, lie down on my bed. Okay. Louise plopped onto the bed as told. She heard the professor and Yuri speaking. 13 years of memory is no trifling matter, I understand. I'll try. That voice faded into the distance. Louise strained her eyes in an attempt to see Yuri's face clearly one last time, but her eyelids shut against her will. As her sight and hearing sank into the darkness, Louise felt like she heard the professor's voice. Good night, Yui. Your real life begins tomorrow. Louise smiled faintly at those words, and then she fell into a deep sleep. Right. And that's the end, basically. And the rest we know. Louise felt as if she were rocking in a cradle. She heard the sound of a car engine. And eventually she heard the professor's voice as well. Yui. Yui. We're here. I see. Once Louise answered, the car stopped. Let's get off now. As she got out of the car, a never-before-seen sight spread out before her eyes. The sky, for starters. A gentle breeze caressed Louise's cheek. Oh yeah, that's also a thing. Wind! She's never experienced that before. The professor stood next to her and spoke. You slept well? I had a dream. A dream? Yes, a dream. Of when I was at home in France. Those barren, ashen days. Nothing had happened, but it felt like a very sad dream. Don't worry, Yuri. There's no need for you to return to that estate anymore. Starting today, you live here at Dokame City. Louise had heard that her parents and the professor had held a discussion. They concluded that Louise would temporarily be put under the custody of the professor and live in her hometown. I'm sorry that you have to live in an unfamiliar land, but I don't think you'll feel uncomfortable here. But there's something I have to do, isn't there? Good, you remembered. Of course. More importantly, I want you to go over my role again. Your role here is to protect my son, Natsuhiko Tenkawa. From what? From all kinds of malicious intent. Lately, this town's public order has been going bad, though it might still be better compared to how it was a long time in the past. What happened in the past? There were anti-BC demonstrations and anti-communicator persecution even in a city like this. Afterwards, communicator residences were the target of direct destructive activity, and the targeted homes were partially destroyed, and some people even died. Oh, but it looks like such a peaceful city. It took 16 years for it to get this far, though. But not even the strongest fortification can guarantee perfect safety. This town has several holes. As a rank S aptitude communicator, Natsuko is a higher risk of danger than other communicators. But I cannot stay with him at all times, so I want you to protect Natsuko for me, Yui. Roger. Thank you. Now, there's one key thing you need to know. Due to childhood trauma, Natsuko keeps seeing a phantom of his childhood friend who died. Her name was Yuri Kotono. Yuri Kotono? For some reason, hearing that name made Louise feel nostalgic. Indeed, the professor had talked to her about this topic before. When you speak with Natsuko, he might suddenly bring up that girl's name. But don't touch on the subject, just gently leave it alone. I already understand the information concerning Yuri Kotono. I intend to handle the subject with the utmost care. Yes, I have high expectations. The professor gently spoke, just layers of lies constantly, like, just fake memories, fake ghosts of people who are actually still alive. And, like, she knows everything. Like, goddamn, this... Bloody hell, Miyako knows everything, and just... Like, she's learned to lie so casually, nonchalantly, and constantly. To everyone, about everything. Bloody hell. Just, like, like, how else am I supposed to react? I can't just mechanically keep going all the time. I need moments like this to just reflect on the everything again. It's a bit much. It's a bit much. Okay? It's a bit much. Like, if you've been following along this long, like I don't know. Like, tell me how you feel if you've been following throughout this whole thing for so long. Because just like I don't know what to think. I don't really know what to think other than shit's fucked, yo. But Louise did not understand what those expectations actually were. She was extremely poor at judging what was on people's minds based on facial expression and tone of voice. I really am anxious after all. I can't understand other people's minds or other forms of any other worldly common sense. Can someone like me properly care for your son? I thought you might say that, so I prepared a present for you. And with that, the professor took something out of the car trunk. It appeared to be a stuffed ferret or some other similar animal. A stuffed animal? Not just any stuffed animal. This is an atmosphere reading mascot system, or ARMS for short. I haven't forgotten about that. Its featured functionality is to give you estimates of emotions based on facial expression, speech, and conduct. It should serve as an important guide to help you live in the outside world. And with that explanation, the professor handed the so-called ARMS device to Louise. A single thought ran through Louise's head as she looked it over carefully. Cute. The soft texture of its fur was pleasant to touch. She hadn't had an interest in such things before then, but for some reason she really took a liking to it. If you point ARMS eyes towards someone's face, it will automatically scan their facial expression. Ah, gee, oh right, there's the implications of this thing as well. Fuck me. This is just portable, like, what was, like the Hydra, like, evaluator thing from, like, that Marvel Captain America movie, Winter Soldier? No, the first. Yes, that one, right? On one of them. Anyway. Just portable, like, detect person's feelings, emotions, and, you know, this could easily, just a portable version of that thing. That thing, like, identify potential criminals and apprehend them before, you know, Minority Report crap, even. God damn it. The potential implications for this thing, this invention she has, like, god damn. Just, you may sugarcoat it with these, you know, innocuous and, like, you know, wholesome uses for it to help, you know, a kid who doesn't understand feelings to understand other people better. That's nice and that's good. That's helpful. An excellent example of technology that can be, technology is not good or evil, it's just how it's used and by who. Bloody hell. And if Arms cries happily, that person is happy. In addition to facial expressions, it's also able to analyze voices and behavior. It's quite good at forming judgments. Arms cried when the professor said that. It cried happily. Professor, does that mean you're happy right now? Yes, I am happy because you seem to be happy too. Useful. That's great. Looks like it's to your liking. The professor smiled and continued talking. Now then, there's a hotel nearby. You and I are staying there tonight. We're not going to your house, Professor. I think you might be bewildered at such a sudden change in environment, so let's acclimatize you gradually. And with that declaration, the professor took Louise by the hand and began walking. The two of them walked through town. Once she saw a crowd of people larger than any she'd seen back home, Louise's body began to tremble. It's kind of scary. Professor, are we at the hotel yet? No, actually, I thought it'd be better to purchase some daily necessities for you at this shopping area first, so... Right as the professor said that, a voice echoed in Louise's head. Get away from there, Mushroom. There's gasoline. Oh, it's this event now. Yeah. Okay, actually, yeah, this is very important. His mother heard him use that as well, so that's, suddenly many red flags and gears are turning in Miyako's head now, upon hearing her son use telepathy for the first time, basically. It's a lot of things. Louise gasped at the sudden yell. Professor, what was that? Something that implies so many more things for her than it does for you, Louise. When Louise asked her that question, the professor's face froze. Was that? It was. It couldn't be. Natsuka, yes it is. The professor looked around in a panic. Have his abilities finally? No, more importantly. Professor. Not good. If the upper brass catches wind of this. The professor muttered to herself. She seemed so taken aback that she didn't even hear Louise's words. Soon the professor's PDA rang. She gasped and picked it up. Yes, this is Tenkawa. Yes, I just perceived it as well. That was probably a special observation target, not to telepathy. What measures... No, that's too hasty. It was only telepathy, you know, according to the PRC criteria. The professor seemed to be arguing on the phone with someone. This side of the story as well, like, yes, perfect. Louise waited there for a while, but the call continued for 10 to 20 minutes without any sign of stopping. Did some sort of problem happen? That's an understatement. Louise did not understand a thing. Once she had grown bored of waiting, she eventually heard the crowd stirring across the street. I wonder what it is. Louise walked in the direction of the commotion, making sure not to get too far away from the professor. On the other side of the street, there was a car crashed into a street light, which was caused by, Q disabling the ADS system in Ukita's car. As he agreed, they needed distraction, something to take off. Like, goddamn, all these scenes that at first seemed just innocuous, but now we have all of the context behind it. And even more context than I thought could be possible as well, like every granular detail behind every action, every circumstance, every character, where they are, why they are where they are at every given point, basically. Like, this is just fascinating. This is fantastic. Just like very, very thoroughly thought out and represented here in this. It's excellent. Apparently, there was a motor vehicle accident. A fire engine could be seen approaching from the distance. And then, in the midst of the crowd of onlookers, Louise's eyes fell on someone. That boy's Dr. Nikawa's son. That should have been the first time she saw him, yet for some reason he looked familiar. Had the professor shown her a picture of him before, at that time he too turned Louise's way. Their eyes met and locked. Calm down, Alice, it's just an angsty teenager. And just then, Arms started violently squeaking like an alarm bell. Oh no, does he see me as a hostile? Louise became frightened again and quickly fled. When she got back to where the professor was, the phone call was just about over. Yes, understood, then we'll go with that. The professor sighed and hung up. Once she noticed Louise, she spoke to her. Sorry about the wait. She didn't even notice that Louise went away for a moment. Finished with the phone? Looks like things are about to get busy, but I'm okay. Don't worry about me. Please don't mention that phone call just now to Natsuko when you meet him, okay? I don't understand, but okay. Thank you. Anyway, let's go to the hotel. I'll take care of the shopping later. The professor grasped Luis's hand and started walking again. Along the way, Luis asked the professor a question. By the way, professor, back to what we were talking about. The matter about protecting your son. Why choose me for that role? Someone with your position and assets should be able to employ as many capable bodyguards as you'd like. So why choose just me? The professor quietly answered Luis's question. I wanted to give you a role. A role? Yes, a role. It's not just for my son's sake, it's for yours as well. Both Natsuko's mind and yours are lacking in some areas. But that's exactly why you can complete each other. I have high hopes for you, Yui. Hopes that you can give Natsuko what I cannot. Hopes that Natsuko can give you what I cannot. I don't understand. I know, but I'm sure one day you will. Once you fulfilled your role, your void will be filled. And yes, we are understanding this is like, what, only 6 days later? Like, fulfilling all those roles and conditions very, very rapidly. Only 6 days, but over the course of fucking like 70 hours that we are here. The professor spoke with a smile. Louise didn't understand the professor's true intentions, but that one word resonated strongly with her mind. A role, eh? She didn't understand why she was so fascinated by something as boring as bodyguard work. But Louise was aware that it was something she had longed for. I'm not confident I can do it, but I'll try my best. Louise stayed in the hotel on her first day in Rockaway City. There, she received an informative lecture on the usage of arms and various points of caution relating to her new life. The next morning, Dr. Tengo took her from the hotel to the school. The circumstances were unclear, but according to the professor, Rockaway Academy was the only school that would admit Louise. It was a little disheartening to stand in front of the school. Dr. Tengo had accompanied her all the way to the school gate, but Louise was on her own from there on. I don't know if this will go well. As Louise nervously waited in front of the classroom, she was addressed by the homeroom teacher who greeted her earlier. Indeed she is. Now then, Miss Sanami, please come in. Louise fired herself up and entered the classroom as instructed. Okay, go ahead and introduce yourself now. Louise Yui Sanami. And thus she somehow managed to handle the hurdle of introducing herself. But Louise was afraid of the crowd of students in the classroom. And once homeroom ended... Hey, bonjour, mademoiselle Louise. Thank you, Masha, for being just a bright jumble of sunshine here. An energetic girl called out to her, like I need that, it's been a while. We've had all this, like, just awful things happening, and there's Masha here, just being so cheerful. That's great, that's good. I needed that. God, after all of these lies, all of this falsifying memories, all this just horrible, unethical, evil behavior. And then there's Nashira here. Just a bundle of joy and purity. And a little bit of silliness. We need that, I need that. The sudden voice startled Louise. It was Mashira Toba. She said she wanted to be Louise's friend. Really? I hope she's not plotting anything. Louise sank into paranoia for a second before suddenly realizing something important. This girl seemed to be that friend of Natsuko that the professor mentioned. Natsuko himself was nearby. In that case, Louise thought it would be best for her to make friends with them. Once Louise agreed to be their friend, Mashiro jumped for joy. Now then, what should we call you? Oh, I know. Salyu. How's that? That's the only time you hear me actually say that word without changing it to Louise. Well, I don't see why not. I object to it thoroughly and have since the beginning. Actually, it's a rather beautiful nickname. I fucking disagree entirely, but okay. Louise was pronounced like salut, which was French for hi. No acknowledged. A salutation, the beginning of communication. It's like an encouraging boost to my perseverance. Well, good on you authors for coming up with that. I don't care. I will not suddenly change that attitude of mine. I feel like my first contact with them went by pretty well too. Louise was secretly full of joy, and thus began her new life. But the day's lesson ended before she really had any good opportunities to have a nice and slow conversation with them. After the PRC field trip, Louise had Dr. Tenkawa pick her up. She waited by the side of the building for a while, and eventually the professor's car approached and stopped. Good work today, Yui. Ah, Professor. How was your first day at school? I'm tired, but I did establish contact with Natsuko and Mashiro. Good, just as planned. Were you able to get along with them? Quite. We're already friends now. Suddenly, Arms cried anxiously. Professor, you're feeling anxious. Why? No, it's just your imagination. No, Arms doesn't lie. Perhaps even Arms was capable of making misjudgment. The professor didn't seem to have anything to be anxious about in any case. Oh, but she's had reasons to be anxious for like 15 years, basically. Anyway, starting from today, you'll be living at my house. Let's head over there. I'm fairly sure that not even that boy will object. Understood. But once they had gone to the Tenkawa residence and reunited with Natsuko and Mashiro, Natsuko objected to Louise moving in. Whatever. That's strange. Nobody told me to expect this development. But I thought we were already friends. I haven't even touched on the phantom subject. But the professor quickly departed, leaving the confused Louise to her own devices. Is it a bother for me to live in this house? This isn't what the professor said would happen. She said you wouldn't object. Louise twitched in fear when she saw that expression on Natsuko's face. Even someone like me can understand that expression. Natsuko was mad, and Louise had a feeling she knew to whom that anger was directed. It can't be. Am I a nuisance? No, it's his mother that he's a little angry about that. The thought saddened her. The happiness she had finally gained had suddenly withered. In a desperate effort to open her heart to Natsuko, even just a little, she even tried talking to him about her role. But I was sent here to protect you, after all. Eh? You? Protect me? Natsuko only stared blankly. He didn't seem happy at all. He really isn't accepting me. Why does he have to be so cruel to me? I've done nothing wrong. It's complicated. Louise couldn't understand a thing that was on Natsuko's mind. And thus the first day of Louise's new life came to an anxious end. She was wondering if things could get worse from there, but... Starting the next day, things took a turn for the better. She went shopping with Natsuko and Mashiro and opened her heart to them a little bit. And after Natsuko asked her about how they had met at the scene of the accident 2 days ago, Louise gathered the courage to tell him about her weakness. To be honest, I'm very poor at understanding the nuances, people's emotions and facial expressions. It's thanks to this thing that I can finally communicate properly with people. And with that, she showed Arms to Natsuko. That's why I was uneasy about adapting to a new life. But with Arms, I think I can somehow manage. Gotta pronounce it correctly. So that's how it was. Natsuko fell silent at Louise's words for a few moments before timidly speaking up. Say, Louise, what is it? Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for always acting so hostile towards you. It was still an awkwardly tilted conversation, but it didn't feel unpleasant at all. Besides, you have Mashiro here to break the ice, in case of emergencies. I've learned something. The key to good communication might be honesty. Yes, absolutely, it is. Not might, it is. You should open up your heart and come in contact with others even if they seem scary. Oh, there's fireworks happening outside. I wonder if you heard that. Well... shit, fuck me. The fireworks might date when this thing is being recorded. Next week I might have to not do that. This room is not soundproofed at all. But nothing, is just concrete. Just an old Soviet-era concrete building. Anyway, you should open up your heart and come in contact with others, even if they seem scary. That was an epiphany to Louise. God damn, I messed up again. And that night, Mashiro threw a welcome party for Louise. Okay, thanks for waiting. Whoa. Whoa. Magnificent. The food was very delicious, but above all else, it was Mashiro's consideration that delighted Louise. She's gentle, and she doesn't hide behind a mask. Her speech and conduct match almost perfectly with Alice's judgment. Everything she says seems to be genuine. Even though Louise couldn't understand the minds of others, she felt like she could believe Mashiro unconditionally. Yes, you can. Afterwards, they all talked about novels and had a fun time. Once Mashiro went home, Louise tried asking Natsuko a question. It looked to me like everyone had fun today. Did you have fun, Natsuko? Well, of course I did. Did you have a bad time, Louise? No, I had a lot of fun too. When Louise said that with a smile, Natsuko smiled back. If only days like this could continue forever. That's what Louise wished for. But that peace did not last long. The next night, Natsuko and Mashiro got into a fight, and even though Louise had thought they were getting along. I can't count on you for anything anymore, Natsuko. Goodbye. Hey, wait a second, Mashiro. And the next day, Louise herself got into a fight with Natsuko. If you don't believe Mashiro, then why don't you just leave her alone? Hey, don't you think you're being a little too cold? You're not gonna make any friends like that. Those words gouged out Louise's heart. She had never expected one of her first ever friends to say that to her. But if I talked to him honestly, then maybe. Once she got that idea, Louise talked once more about her peculiar trait, about the dysfunctional part of her brain, and how as a result she couldn't understand other people's feelings in the slightest. I came to Japan, met all of you, and had fun. But at times I've also been confused, and also scared. Perhaps I really wasn't meant to interact with other people. Louise spoke on the verge of tears, but Natsuko replied in a subdued voice. Don't tell yourself you weren't meant to interact with other people. It's true that we can't understand other people's feelings. When I say we can't understand other people's feelings, I don't just mean you and me, Louise. Nobody truly can. Eh? It's not just me, but everyone. I mean, not to the extreme length that you can't, but yes. That's right. But don't you think we should still try our best to understand each other regardless? You don't need a full understanding of what's on the other people's minds, but as long as you keep striving for it. In other words, as long as you keep other people in consideration, then I'm sure things will turn out for the best, both for you and for those you interact with. And unless you afford that kindness to others, nobody will be kind to you, will they? Those words reverberated in Louise's mind. I see, if everyone's the same way, then I'm just wasting my time worrying about it alone. Indeed. Sip of water now? Perhaps Natsuko has the same sort of worries I do inside. He overcame those worries to say all that. Is this what it means to sympathize with someone? At that time, Louise felt like she gained at least a slight understanding of Natsuko's incomprehensible boyish mind. Then I need to respond by trying to sympathize with Natsuko too. Louise reconciled with Natsuko, and the two of them decided to search for Mashiro together. Let's calm down and think about a way to find her. I'll help. Yee. They regrouped with Mashiro in front of that melancholic city gate. They searched for the terrorists and trespassed into the PRC, and as a result of a misunderstanding there, they became a target for the security department. And thus they spent the night at a karaoke box. Louise's life began to take a huge change. She couldn't recommend Natsuko and Mashiro stepping into danger, but in the corner of her mind, she enjoyed it. It's kind of like an adventure. Yee, adventures are fun. It might possibly contradict my role, but I think I might like this sort of thing. The adventure continued to the next day. After they encountered the PRC explosion, they realized that the enemy's real target was the LABO's nuclear reactor. And they confronted the terrorists at the ruined factory. They suffered a temporary defeat, but once they woke up from being knocked out, the three kids talked. Natsuko decided to head to LABO to prevent the terrorist plot. And so, Louise and Mashiro chose to cooperate with him as well. Ah jeez, how can you two be so stubborn? Pot meat kettle. I don't want to hear it from you, Natsuko. The three of us just have the same idea in mind. Total agreement. And then the kids smiled at each other. They eventually sorted out their story. Okay then, ready guys? Roger. I'm ready to go when you are. Let's go, to protect the city. Louise nodded and broke off into a dash, alongside the two precious friends that fate had brought to her in that city. And thus, the three kids hurried to LABO to stop the terrorist plot. But by the time they got there, it was already too late. What? Boom, boom, boom. Uh-oh. Explosions everywhere, yes, indeed. Ukita's setting them off, all one by one. They missed the window of opportunity to stop the terrorist plot by just a short amount of time. After they had descended to the basement floors of the blazing building, they searched for an exit and Dr. Tenkawa. But along the way, they ran into the terrorists. Natsuko, Mashiro, run! Luis promptly yelled. Luis, I'll get rid of him. The other one's fainted, so I can manage one-on-one combat. Then let me help you. No, Natsuko, you guys will only drag me down. I can't deal with a hostage situation if they get you. You guys go find an exit. If you find one, contact me through telepathy. Luis had judged that to be the most logical course of action. But after Natsuko and Mashiro had fled and Luis had knocked down the two terrorists, a new terrorist appeared. Luis immediately kicked him, but the force of the impact merely shattered the enemy's faceplate. The third terrorist threw off his protection suit and spoke. You again, eh? So we meet again. This encounter. He was the man who had knocked Luis out last night in the ruined factory. Just a word of warning, get out. Or the bulkheads will shut and trap your ass in there. The fires will get worse, and you could even burn to death. Seems to me like you're trying to thwart our plan of some childish sense of justice, but what good is fighting me if it means putting your body in such extreme danger? Now he mentioned it, what would be the purpose of fighting this man? That was already well beyond the scope of Luis's role. Why am I going so far to... Her thoughts were interrupted by a gunshot. Uh-oh, right. Her arm felt like it was on fire. Crap. She swore for a moment. Right, I don't think she's sworn before. When Luis turned around in shock, she spotted one of the terrorists that she had flung away, pointing his gun at her. Dumbass, the hell are you doing? Shooting at a child? The hell are you doing? There's no time to be standing around, is there? The terrorists started quarreling. Luis took that opportunity to get out of there. I can't win against guns, I need a weapon of my own. With that thought in mind, she searched for Natsuko and Mashiro. They found each other at opposite sides of a wrecked emergency staircase. Luis spoke as the other two worried about her. The enemy has exceptional physical strength and unknown numbers. Our odds don't look good. Okay, Luis, then come down here. Let's escape together. No, I can't climb down with this arm. I think it'd be difficult for you guys to climb up too. So let's split up and escape separately. No, will you be okay by yourself, Luis? I will, but there's no time to speak for my reasoning. So let's use BC. Luis said that, hoping that they would use empathy on her. She calmed down her mind and thought of the message she wanted to send them. I finally found life interesting for once. I don't want it to end like this. I truly enjoyed these past 6 days. These are my true feelings, what I've always wanted to tell you all. Even though Luis was by no means an eloquent speaker, she was able to express herself honestly if she used pure emotions. It appeared that they had received her message. Okay, leave these two to me. Promise me one more thing, that we'll all live long enough to meet again on the outside. Promise. And on that note, Luis left. Blood seeped endlessly from the wound on her upper arm. My brachial vein's damaged. I need to treat it immediately. She set a trap along the connecting passage to prevent the terrorists from chasing after her. Ah, there we go. Even this little video game obstacle has an explanation. Ah, that's brilliant. That's fucking brilliant. Even this thing I had completely forgotten about. This little... that's perfect. Everything. Now this is very thorough writing. Kudos to the authors here. Like that's just like everything. Everything. And in the area at the end of the passageway, she acquired a security card, a disaster prevention manual, and finally a stapler. I can do temporary first aid with this. Ah fuck, a stapler, that's gonna hurt. Luckily the bullet had pierced all the way through. Well, that's good. Luis took the stapler to the gunshot wound in her arm and stitched it up. Ouch, fuck me, imagine that is just painful. She stifled her voice and treated the exit wound as well. Ouch, god damn, that's painful. That just, the idea is painful. She sank to the floor, breathing roughly. For now, she had averted a medical emergency. Now, what do I do from here? The terrorist's words echoed in her head. Just a word of warning, get out. What good is finding me if it means putting your body in such extreme danger? She very well could do what he said and run away, but if the terrorist's goal was to destroy the town in its entirety with a nuclear meltdown, then running away was pretty much pointless. I can't just run away. If we don't prevent the meltdown, if we don't stop them, the city would be destroyed. Atomic dust would rain on Natsuko, Mashiro, Dr. Tenkawa, and everyone else. There was only one way to stop it. I won't run. What I need to do now is not to run, but to fight. to defeat the terrorists and put an end to their plan. Because my role is to protect Natsuko and the others. A faint smile rose to Luisa's lips. With courage welling in her heart, she began to walk once more. And with that, we return to the present. Chapter title Miyoko Tenkawa. Yeah, that's a really big one. All right, we'll. Yes. Okay. Return to reality. There we go. All right. We're gonna stop now. We're gonna have a pause, have a break for now, because that was a lot. Jesus Christ, God damn it, LABO is just pure fucking evil, basically. Like, yeah, I know I said it's complicated, black and white, like, yeah, I still agree, but still, it's like, they're still very evil. Like, this is just fucked. This is just, god damn, this is just, bloody hell. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. Anyway, that's something I'm gonna need to process a little bit. Luis's backstory is way more fucked than I could have even possibly imagined. But it all makes sense. It all makes sense. It's all connected. It's all logical. It's all sensible, I guess. But okay. Right, anyway. Let's distract ourselves from that with some music. Yeah. Some music. This time we have Yalla Последняя поэма. It's a Russian band, Yalla. The Last Poem, as well. Then followed by Church, Creed with Arms Wide Open, Heart Alone, and A Flock of Seagulls, It's Not For Me Talking. Just some music to distract ourselves from everything. Everything. I guess. Yeah. That's... Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I'm just gonna leave it at that for the time being. Because, like, there's really nothing else. And... we can hear the silence. Okay, yeah. Anyway. Time of the night when people are gonna start firing fireworks more and more now. For some reason. I don't know. Whatever the reason is. That's gonna be a thing during this time of year. But anyway. For now, we shall leave you at that. Ta-ta for now. I will see you in a few moments. Bye-bye. Now then, we continue where we last left off. Welcome back to Root Double Before Crime After this Extended Edition, Part 14-2. Well, intermission, still. We shall continue the story after these messages. Are there any messages? No. Nothing happened? No, nothing important happened. So let's get the vocal exercise out of the way, and as well as the shame from my past out of the way, one little bit at a time. A little short story music, get out of the way. Now, we can... a little bit of a vocal exercise. Let's read the next little story I wrote about 4 years ago now, 4.5. Short story 21. It's a poem thingy. Apparently I like both poems. To write them. Not sure if they make sense, but that's not relevant. I don't really understand poetry to begin with. Never have. Doesn't really make sense to me either. And so this is my interpretation. Picture of perfection, ruined by protection, desecrated in the fire by hatred from within. Fear and paranoia, wealth notwithstanding, creating fortresses in solitude, ridding the world of themselves. Generations of ignorance, the rest moving on. A world concealed, a culture born. Unknown years pass by in bliss, the hidden going mad, believing the world dead. Factions within one, others are not my own. Survival is key. They are not me. Okay, what does that mean? I have no clue. None at all. Something. Poetry is in the eye of the beholder. Like more so than literally any other written text. As far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to try to pretend to understand what I wrote there or why. I don't think I had any meaning in mind when I did write it. So, anyway, irrelevant there. Now, going back to the actual story. Last time we left off, we learned that Louise has spent her entire life in LABO and has been a guinea pig for like research here as well. Another child that just been like that's just really fucked up. It's just really fucked up. We have subject N who's also probably born here and now died here, spent her entire life here, just losing her mind, absorbing other people's brains, and then transferring that knowledge, at least specific aspects of the knowledge she gained, into Luis, and then it's just fucked up. And Miyoko Tenko, right there, title of the chapter, next one. She is responsible for everything. Also, hello there. I'm continuing reading a story, and there's like 70 hours of existing to recap, which I don't think I'll be able to do successfully for you. But suffice to say, there's an evil laboratory that's doing bad experiments and lots of people need to go to jail. That's the short end of it, essentially. But in essence, I don't even know what to say. This is madness. This is what is happening here. And we are delving further in to everything. We're close to the end. I think. Although I felt that way many, many times. And then we weren't. Right then. So. I lost my train of thought again. What's gonna happen? Okay, I need to take my own advice right there on top of the screen and drink some water. Stay hydrated. It's a good idea. Now then. Let's delve in. Let's delve into the story. We have Natsuko's mother, who needs to answer a lot of things. Let us go in the world of the thing. Where Natsuko and Yuri, two psychokinetic children. I keep saying psychokinetic, there's no kinetic powers here. It's all telepathy and empathy and brain melding. Well, anyway, whatever. Natsuko and Yuri return to reality. Hikori. So, Luis, are you okay? Yuri's voice felt so far away. Natsuko just gritted his teeth without answering. Luis had a very fucked up, the toughest past out of all of us, so far, that we know of. Because, like, good lord. Like, everyone's had a tough past here. It's just... okay, most of them. Yeah. Watasa had a pretty tough past there. Kazumi as well. June too. With all the dead siblings and relatives. Natsuko thought Yuri was dead the whole time. Believed that for 9 years. That's pretty fucking tough. Yuri voluntarily gave up her freedom to be in LABO and be experiment subject, essentially, for those 9 years. Lied to the world. I guess Mashiro Toba is fine. She's had mostly a normal childhood, except for her best friend and the boy she loves being a little insane and gone, depressed and crazy due to the loss of his best friend there. At least perceived loss. Then Ukita, he is mostly fine. He just found a bad workplace and kind of got dejected by it and decided to, try and take things in his own hand. I guess he had a relatively normal past. Beyond that. And Anna, right, also family loss. And then Seeking just, Luis had a pretty bad one. And she's the youngest of them all as well. Everything he saw in Luis's memory wrenched Natsuko's heart. It was pretty fucking bad, made me hate LABO so much. I want people to go to prison. And then right in front of him, Luis cried. I probably would have been happier not knowing that. Me too, honestly, but we have to know these things now. God damn it. Just remembering all that. Okay, moving on. I'm sorry. Well, you couldn't do anything about that. It's just the past is what it is. Natsuko regretted his decision. He should have followed Yuri's advice, but then we wouldn't know. We need to know the truth. But Louise quickly shook her head and continued speaking. No need to apologize. It's probably still better for me to know than to not have known a thing. Yes, we do need to know the truths. We can think about everything later, alright, Natsuko? Indeed, we still have to, like... Alright, right! This place is rigged to blow. We still have to get out of here. Right, I forgot about that. All these emotional moments and all these pasts and everything, it's like, we still have very important things to deal with. Anyway, Louise smiled through her tears, with a facial expression that closely resembled the one Dr. Tenkao used in Louise's memory. Even if my life was ashen, the memories of these last few days filled it with color. As long as I have those memories, I can overcome any past. Well, at least... Well, that's a positive outlook, I suppose. Good. She shut her eyes and murmured. Tears ran down her cheeks and fell to the floor. Natsuko could tell she was pushing herself. Seeing her shed tears for the first time was proof enough. Damn it, is there nothing I can do to support her? I mean, just being there is enough of support, I think. Anyway, Louise said she wanted him to support her if he could. So if there was anything he could do for her, that's it. I'll show her my mind and heart. That was not an abuse of his ability. In fact, it was likely the right way to use it. Okay. With that firm belief, Natsuko gently grasped Louise's hand. Louise. As Louise's body stiffened, Natsuko gazed at her and sent her telepathy. Telepathy infused with his gratitude, affection, and all his feelings for her. I guess that's nice. The days I spent with you are precious memories to me too. I'm so glad I met you. I've changed a little thanks to you too. Well, that's nice. But nobody said the fun times would end with these few days. No, I mean, fun times end, but then they can start up again. I'm sure there are tons of great things to come, because we're always with you. Indeed, assuming we get out here alive. Which we will, because it's this kind of story will give us a happy ending. Mostly happy. And we already have tons of sad stuff in there, so like they better fucking end it with something positive. Louise said nothing. She just silently grasped Natsuko's hand back. Yuri laid her hand on top of hers and spoke. Let's get everybody out of here. Together. Yes. We still gotta catch Kazumi and, like, anti-brainwash her. Let's go back to that home with Mashiro. The four of us. Sure. Louise nodded, wiping her tears. Natsuko nodded and murmured. Well, all that's left is to get Miss Tajima back and then we can get out of here. Yeah, but... Security Sector 6 might be waiting outside. We know they are. Yes, right, and... Right, eh? Nearly 10 hours have already passed since the bulkhead's locked down, which means LABO must already be taking measures to ensure the test subjects don't escape. Right. Security Sector 6 has us marked. Oh, SS. Oh, fuck's sake, of course. Sure. Once the bulkhead's open, Security Sector 6 will capture you and confine you again. Oh, not just you, everyone. Everyone knows way too much about this. Like, there might be a rash of accidental deaths if things go according to Sector 6's plans. Now that you mention it, nobody inside knew what the situation was on the outside. Really makes you want to know what's going on out there. Is there anyone we can contact via BC? I mean your mother, but she's also... It's complicated, goddammit. I'm sure there are lots of people outside, but I don't know if there's anyone we can trust. I mean, from one perspective, Natsuko's mom really has been, you know, very supportive of the kids. And you're basically raising 2 surrogate daughters in this facility, but on the other hand, she's kept everything a secret from everyone. And like, participated and didn't really do anything to stop all these horrible experiments from happening in the first place. So, it's difficult to evaluate whether or not you can actually trust her. You can, but you also can't. It's complicated. Goddamn, she's the most complicated character here. Watas's boss, the commander, might have been trustworthy, but he wouldn't know the kids. Besides, they didn't know his characteristic brain waveform, so they couldn't send him directional telepathy. I don't know much about BC, but couldn't you contact Dr. Tenkawa? That's right, Mom! They certainly could trust Dr. Takawa. Really? Could you? I mean, I guess kinda, but still, you saw the memories, you saw that she was there with all of them. And she kept everything from everyone. So can you? And the possibility that she was on alert outside LABO was high. Oh, absolutely. But Yuri shook her head like, I thought so too, so I tried contacting her several times as soon as we were locked in, but I couldn't connect. Oh, okay. Is it because of the bulkheads? Maybe. I was thinking that maybe we could contact the outside with the WX particle energy this high, though. It seemed worth another shot. Natsuko concentrated his mind. Mom, can you hear me? It's me, Natsuko. He then tried using empathy. No response. If you can hear me, please focus on your answer. I'll listen for it with empathy. You might already know this, but I've awoken to my BC ability. He tried using empathy again. No response. Mom, we need your help. If you can hear me, please help us escape. He tried using empathy once more. And on the third attempt, Natsuko. Natsuko, is that you? Do we trust her? I don't think I can. The professor's voice echoed in his head. I don't think I can trust her. I bet she heard him the first two times, but then she tried to figure out what would be the best course of response here. Really. Mom, so you really are there? I am. Ah, it's really you, Natsuko. I was so worried. I thought my heart was going to burst. Yes, it worked. Natsuko gave Yuri and Luisa an okay sign and continued communicating with the professor. Mom, it seems Yuri hasn't been able to contact you all day. Did something happen? I got caught in an explosion immediately following the start of the terrorist attack, so I received treatment in the hospital. Is that accurate? Is that true? I don't think that's true. Maybe it might be true. I don't know. I just got back about 2 hours ago. Right now, the professor's voice abruptly cut off. Mom, I can't hear you. Here, how's this? Ah, I can hear you now. What's going on? I tried putting my head to the floor. Looks like we can connect better that way. Okay, sure. You might already know this, but the floors and bulkheads separating the basements from the ground levels are constructed with thick BC insulators. We seem to be able to connect since the WX particle energy levels are high, but if they drop past a certain threshold, then connection will be rendered impossible once more. That meant that even though they had finally connected, there was a high possibility that they would lose contact soon enough. Indeed. The professor hurriedly asked Natsuko a question. We don't have time. Answer me, Natsuko. How's the situation over there? Pretty fucked, honestly. Right. Lots of information, but the gist of it is there's a bomb that's gonna go off 1 minute once the bulkheads open. That's the important information. Natsuko summarized the situation. It's very, very bad. How the current incident was a terrorist attack by Q. How Natsuko and Mashra were heavily injured. That's pretty heart-wrenching to hear. How the conditions inside had gone insane due to the influence of Subject N's malice. Lots of dead people. But in spite of the severe situation, the survivors were slowly gathering and formulating a plan to escape. So, Mom, tell me about the situation outside too. How's it going on your side? Will we be able to escape once the bulkheads open? The professor painfully answered. Escape will probably be difficult. Security Sector 6 is on standby outside. I knew it. LABO Sopras wants to make it so that this whole thing never happened. Yeah. They're preparing to rush inside once the case N lifts. The main power supply cut out a few hours ago, didn't it? Yeah. They anticipate that if they cut the main power at that time, then the reserve power supply would fail too, right about when the bulkheads open, leaving the facility in total darkness. Clever. Security Sector 6 suspects that this event is a Q terrorist attack. They intend to arm themselves with guns and cut the lights so that once the bulkheads open, they can secure all of you. Then if we use our BC to oppose them, you can't. They're administering themselves with AD, and they're wearing anti-BC suits made with insulators. Your BC won't be effective. They are prepared. What? Of course they're prepared. It seemed that the opening of the bulkheads, that light at the end of the tunnel, would still not allow them to escape. In just an hour, Security Sector 6 will rush in on them. Even though the survivors had yet to gather everyone... Mom, is there no way to delay the opening of the bulkheads? I mean that... But that's not gonna help you though. Like, the bomb is set to go off 1 minute after the bulkheads were supposed to open. If you like, the bomb's not gonna... Like, you can't delay the explosion of the bomb. I'm sorry, it's impossible. When the Xtend and WX particle amplifier malfunction happened at the same time, all of the bulkheads automatically shut. But once the WX particle energy levels in area N return to normal, the bulkheads will open up no matter what. It's impossible to do anything about it on the outside. I see. Natsuko was discouraged, but then he suddenly realized something. Okay. There was no point in delaying the opening of the bulkheads in the first place. There we go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Remember the explosion in the command center. The bomb Watasa's group set up in Area 0 was set to go off 1 minute after the bulkheads opened. They were given the option of dying in the explosion if they stayed inside, or facing Security 6 if they went outside. Between a rock and a hard place. There's nowhere to escape. I mean, capture is better than death, so there's that, but there's other options. There's a third option. What that is, not sure. We'll find out. Then should we go down to Area 0 and disarm the bomb? I don't think they made it to be disarmed. But it was impossible to go down to Area 0 now. Oh, you're right, the people who could allow you to do that are dead. When Watasa's group broke into there, they needed the written authentication of 2 higher-ranking researchers. Mom, is there any way to get down to Area 0 without written authentication? There is one way, but it's a last resort. What? I've had something prepared for a long time now as a trump card for Yuri and the others. No. Hacking software to steal root authority from Brain Cell. Ooh, root access. Oh, that's the most powerful. Hacking software. It's a program I put together. With it, you can operate Brain Cell and freely use any of the facility's functionalities. Convenient. It grants you the highest level authority, allowing you to negate the security on any area. Mom, why would you have such a thing? But at that moment, Natsuko recalled what he had heard in Yuri's memory. I will gladly do whatever I can to get you all out of here, even if it costs me my life. You're still complicit in all of this happening for like the past 16 years though, so hollow words in a kind of way. I guess that's our repentance for those 16 years of committing basically unethical research, to put it mildly. Oh well, eh? Truth be told, I've been secretly advancing preparations for such a plan. It's not something I can do alone, so it'll be a difficult journey. But one day, for sure. Was that what she was referring to? Maybe. At least one of those things. Mom, where's that program? It's in the lowest shelf farthest back inside my office. The hardware is an ARMS unit identical to the one Yui has. The shelf is locked, but you can just break it open. It works by plugging Brain Cell into that ARMS unit. The software will then activate automatically, bringing up the authentication screen on Brain Cell's 3 control terminals. If you use those authentication screens, you can steal root authority. Yes. I see, that's easy enough to understand. Steal the root. But there are 2 things to note. First, Brain Cell consists of 3 control systems that observe each other. Yes, redundancy. Yeah, it's a very, very important security measure. Redundant systems that check in on each other. You must operate those 3 control terminals at the same time. One person alone cannot operate it. 3 people are necessary to steal root authority. Remember that. Yeah, we can manage if it's just 3 people. I've got Yui and Luis with me anyway. Plus you got all the adults who have been recovered. Good. Then there's one more thing to note. Even if you steal a root authority illegitimately, the system will reclaim it immediately. Alright, Ukita had sent something to that effect once before. The use of hacking software would apparently not make a difference in hacking attempts. Right? The software can only steal root authority for about 30 seconds. Try to use that time to negate Area 0's security. Right? I mean, I guess Luis would have some computer whizz's knowledge inside of her, right? She should. Yuri might be dabble in a little bit of it, but Natsuko is complete computer illiterate. Okay, got it. It's kind of complicated. So in other words, to get down to Area 0, 3 of them had to steal root authority from Brain Cell in the control room and negate Area 0 security within 30 seconds. And then they had to send Botasa or someone else to go down and disarm the bomb. It's a do or die plan, but we've got no other choice. Yeah. Thanks, Mom. We'll try. Do your best, Natsuko. I'll do as much as I can in the meantime. What are you going to do? I'll try to find a way to clear through Sector Security Sector 6's siege before the bulkheads open. Right? Can you? Neither LABO nor Security Sector 6 would side with you, would they? But the rescue squad people at least aren't in the pockets of the Rokome city government. The fire department's an independent organization. I guess that's true. So I might be able to persuade the rescue squad. Ah, maybe. Wait, are you sure you'll be fine? Wouldn't that put you under the eye of the city government too? I mean, she's a top researcher in this super top secret lab that's doing super unethical things. She is already under their eye from the very beginning, so it's okay. It's only fitting punishment for my crimes. At minimum, by the way. And at least there's that. Minimum. Eh? Natsuko, you see, somewhere in the back of my mind, I was waiting for this day to come. I've been passively watching LABO's decay for all this time. Yeah, passively, knowingly, though. And you didn't do a thing to stop it. So, you know, that's... there's a word, I used it in the previous part. But now I've forgotten it. Anyway. So this might also be a good opportunity for me to, you know, repent and atone for, you know, allowing these things to persist for years. The professor's voice cut off there. Mom, I can't hear you. Oh no, looks like the energy levels finally reached its limits. Well, I still have the chance. In an instant, the professor's thoughts cranked out at high speed to send a message. I don't know if I can succeed, but I know I can try, and I will try as hard as I can for you all. You and all the children confined in LABO are precious to me. You're more important to me than anyone. You're my children. I love you, Natsuko. I swear. I'll get you outside. Natsuko called out to the professor, but the connection is gone now. But that was the definite end to their connection. Ma, no, that's crazy. Well, everything's crazy, so don't worry about it too much. Yuri and Louise gasped at the utterance. What happened with the professor? Crazy. What's happening outside? Why do I keep changing their accents? I don't know. Do I have accents for them? I don't. Sometimes they're randomly British, sometimes they're randomly French, sometimes they're randomly German, who knows. Security Sector 6 has the place surrounded, and Mom's opposing them to try and clear a path for us. Even though she might be killed for that. It was a very real possibility, and not just paranoia. Would they kill her? She's a bit too high up in the ranks. She's basically just one level below the top brass, whoever they are. His mother probably thought the same thing, which was why she hadn't taken any action before today. But Yuri, I'm sure the professor will do it. Eh? Let me ask you something, Hikari. Why do you think the professor worked so hard at her research to necessitate staying overnight at LABO almost every day? One subject of her research was to increase the lifespan of communicators. What? The reason for the shortness of communicator lifespans is their high susceptibility to cancer and brain disease. But the professor spent all her days trying to find a way to inhibit those two causes of death. Genetic, you know, we have something, no. CRISPR, that's the thing that's called, like, and altering the genetic code of things. Like, get to work on that. We can solve a lot of things with that. Eventually. I'm sure some people say, if you could play God, like, yes, let's play God. That's my belief. Let's play God. If we have the option to, like, get rid of, like, genetic, you know, illnesses, like, hereditary problems like that, then it's kind of irresponsible to not do that. At least that's my view. Like, especially if it's, like, you know, proven and tested. Because there's gonna be volunteers. I would be a volunteer for that kind of program. You know, alter my genetics to see if we can get rid of some of the bad stuff. It's like random mutations that have occurred over the years. You know, over the generations. Whatever. I'm absolutely 100% in support of that kind of stuff. Like, let's get rid of all the stuff we don't need. Let's perhaps improve the things that are fucked up, that haven't evolved properly for us. Let's go, let's do that. Like, why the fuck wouldn't we? It's just, if the option exists, and it's reliable, and proven to work, even if it's only like, you know, like, for fuck's sake, medicine, stuff that is like 90% effective is considered to be like, man, that's incredibly good. Because like, biology is really fucking complicated. Because of those random mutations and just junk data inside our genetics. That kind of causes it to be so complicated and unreliable in certain instances. So it's like, yeah, get rid of that shit. Of course, there are gonna be people who say like, we're gonna get rid of things, want to get rid of the things they perceive as being like unacceptable racial purity, thinks that's gonna be a thing again. But that's been a thing the whole fucking time, hasn't it? It's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a mess, and that's okay. That's how we, you know, messy conflicts is how we actually make progress. As unfortunate as that may be. Oh well. Anyway. She called in gene therapy experts as external guests for joint research. She worked herself to the bone to extend our lives. For nearly 10 whole years. Natsuko's heart throbbed in pain. He recalled the words the professor had said when they met her just yesterday. It was all for you. I'm trying my hardest just for you. I mean, I believe her. Like she is still complicit in allowing all the horrible shit to happen as well. She's doing good work, but she's also complicit. Like, you know, it's complicated. What do you mean, Mao? Does it have anything to do with what's going on now? Not at all. Though I do think one day the time will come when we can talk about it. Such an asshole. You're a teenager. It doesn't matter. I knew nothing. Well, yeah, so it doesn't matter. And yet I went off on a tirade and hurt my own mother. Look, it'll happen. You're a teenager. Natsuko finally understood the meaning of his mother's tears. The professor could not reveal her true intentions to even her own son. For doing so would be the same as condemning him to a deadly fate. Therefore, she had kept everything sealed away in her heart, and dedicated her entire life to research to save Natsuko and the others. As Natsuko froze in shock, Yuri gently whispered to him. Hikarin, don't blame yourself so much. The professor said it wasn't your fault. She admitted it was true that she left her son all alone. But, well, you see, the professor really treasures you, Hikarin. Through her research on lifespan extension, it appears she's found something that could possibly inhibit our susceptibility to cancer. The professor said the professor's 10 years of devotion may very well pay off with the extension of all communicated lifespans. Well, that's good. There's no mom more amazing than that. You're right. I guess, yeah. I can't disagree on that. Intense regret pressed down on Natsuko's heart, but he withstood it. Now's not the time to wallow in regret. Regret. That word keeps popping up a lot. Now is the time to protect the lives his mother risked to connect. Their own lives. To escape alive and apologize to her. Hikarin, let's go see the professor. Our mom. I mean, yeah, she basically is a surrogate mom to both Yuri and Luis. Effectively. Natsuko strongly nodded at those words. Then first, we need to group with Watasa and the others. It's about time we return to the shelter. I'll go check his current location. And with that, Natsuko tried using sense of sympathy on Watasa. But connecting with Watasa had become difficult as well. Alright, lessen the effects of the WX particle generators. Natsuko intensified his concentration and used his ability. Watase, where are you right now? Eventually, he seemed to just narrowly establish connection. But... oh, at that instant, Watase's intense agony propagated to Natsuko. Oh dear, what happened? Did he get bonked on the head by Kazumi? Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. Oh, she's strangling him. Damn. Even worse. The rope wrapped around his neck was digging into his throat. Kazumi put all her strength into her grip as she strangled Watase from behind. Damn. She had apparently taken the rescue rope Watase had left in Area 6's inner ring and brought it with her. All for the sake of killing Watase. It hurts, doesn't it? Then I'll put you to rest soon. Kazumi's voice sounded pained. Oh. Well, sure. Though Watase was barely conscious, he was still able to make that out. Why? Because she's gone insane. What does Kazumi think I did to her? Who knows? Kazumi then spoke right after Watase had that thought. It was almost like she read his mind. You don't understand. I'm doing this all for you. He could never understand, because that doesn't make any sense. Because she's infected with madness. Kazumi's deranged thoughts were beyond Watase's comprehension. When he realized he was about to die without understanding a thing, Watase heard a voice in the corner of his mind. Watase, an auditory hallucination? No, that wasn't it. That's just Natsuhiko. Watase, what's wrong? Are you okay? No, he's fucking not. It was telepathy from Natsuhiko. His voice was faint due to all the white noise filtering it out, but Watase could just barely make out his concerned shouts. Natsuhiko! Tachibana, Miss Tachibana is trying to kill you? Yeah. Hang in there, Professor Tobakiyama and Jun will be there soon. Watase tried to hold out for them, but it didn't look like they would make it in time. Oh, they will. I'm sorry. Watase mentally apologized to him. It looks like this is the end of the line for me. No, it's not. Come on now. Come on. What are you apologizing for? Are you giving up? Don't you fucking dare. No, but I really don't think I can hold out anymore. Everything's going black. Nonsense. Are you planning on letting it end after all this? I don't want to either, but I just can't. But when Watase thought that, he heard another voice. Captain! Hey, there we go. Jin. Hello there. This was no mental voice. It was actually coming from a person's throat. Kazumi's strength loosened at that moment. Yeah, she hears the voice of her, well, adopted sister, effectively. Watase could make out Jun and Enna in the corner of his eye. They were about 5 meters away from him and Kazumi. Stop it, Miss Tachibana. Enna took out her gun and pointed it at Kazumi. Oh, a gun, huh? So you're in league with Watase too? It doesn't matter if I am or not. Just let go of Captain Kasagi already, or else I'll shoot. Then please go on ahead. I'll put an end to Watase's life before you do. What? So long as you don't shoot me in the head, I'll have cut off his breathing before I die. Jesus. What are you talking about, sis? What, you ask? Isn't it obvious? I'm saying I'm going to kill Watase. What? That can't be. Why? In order to protect his good name. Kazumi answered Jun's question. Right. You see, Jun, this man is a terrorist. Eh? It's his fault all those people died today. Fuck, it's complicated. The one who killed those 5 people was none other than Watase. Well, no, he didn't directly kill them, but... it's complicated. I mean, technically it goes back to Kita, but more technically goes back to LABO for, you know, imprisoning these kids in the first place and doing these experiments on them. Like, you know, it's a domino effect of like one event leads to another and leads to another, leads to another. It starts off with like, hey, let's see what these, you know, let's see what this brain power can do. Escalates to terrorist attacks. He was supposed to be a hero, and yet he... so that's it. Watase finally understood what Kazumi had been talking about. He managed to wring his voice out of his nearly crushed throat. Kazumi! You realize that was a terrorist? So you're trying to kill me before my crimes can come to light? Yes. Didn't I say from the start that there was no terrorists? That's the way it should be. You will die not as a terrorist, but as a rescue worker. Watase Kasasagi, captain of Sirius's Team A, passed away in the line of duty in an accident at LABO. That is the truth that will be revealed to the world once the lockdown ends. So in order to prevent your sins from being revealed, you must die here. The logic of insanity. A faint thought entered Watase's head when he heard Kazumi finish rambling to herself. Yeah, maybe that wouldn't be so bad either. That way, at least he wouldn't sully the good name of Sirius. That way, the truth about Dojima and Hiyama would most likely be lost to the world. Then the following story would be printed on tomorrow's paper. 3 rescue workers killed on duty in nuclear research facility accident. These brave men died honorably to save the lives of trapped civilians. People would then accept those distorted facts as the truth. Yeah, just like how they were all lied to about the truth behind the fire 16 years ago. Then there would be no problems for anyone aside from those directly involved. Maybe it is the perfect way for me to atone for my sins. If that's what Kazumi wants to, then... But at that moment... The hell are you saying, dumbass? Are you planning on breaking a promise to Yuri? Oh yeah, he did make a promise. Those words spurred Watase back into action. Kazumi! Willpower. Strength from willpower, that's it. And plus everyone's really tired. They haven't had any food, they've barely had any water, and they've been running around exhausting their bodies to the limits for like 10 hours now. Kazumi's hands trembled the moment Watase shouted. This caused her to slightly loosen the grip on the rope, allowing Watase to pull on it with all his might. Jun dashed forward at the same time. She took her army knife out and cut the rope. Neat. Oof. Watase coughed violently, feeling all the pressure on his throat suddenly relent. Yee! Jun shouted victoriously. But Kazumi let go of the rope at the exact same time. Don't interfere! And pushed Jun away with all her strength. It's kind of funny see like these limited animations they do with these sprites, like just like push them, just dissolve. It's a little fun. Jun's small body was sent flying hard into the wall, but the actual actions are not fun. She then slowly collapsed to the floor. Ow. A crack then sharply echoed through the air. Geez, we got broken bones now. Oops. Watase and Kazumi looked at Enna in shock. Enna had apparently fired a bullet towards Kazumi's feet. That's your last warning shot. Hesitation arose to Kazumi's face for a second. She then picked up Subject N's body and ran off. Hold it! Enna moved to pursue Kazumi, but Watase immediately called for her to stop. Teach, don't. Eh? You don't have to follow her. It's too dangerous to chase her all alone. But Captain Kasagi, that's enough. We should be more worried about Morbe now. Watase looked over at Jun. She was lying out limply on the floor. She had apparently hit her head. That's gonna hurt. Let's just take Morbe with us and regroup with the others. It'll be better for us to stay in a group. Enna fell silent at the same time they heard Kazumi running for Area 1. After a short silence, Watase heard Natsuko's telepathy echo in his head. Watase, are you okay? Yeah, somehow. I've also confirmed the situation. I see, Kazumi's been completely consumed by the malice. How are things on your end? We met up with Louise. She wasn't infected with malice. We'll regroup in the control room and figure out what to do next. The control room? Got it. I'll be heading over there with Teach and Morbe. Watase finished answering him, then turned to Enna. Let's go, Teach. We'll rendezvous with Natsuko and the others in the control room. Right. Enna finally nodded. Watase then carried Jun on his back and started making his way for Area 4. God damn, this man is fucking Terminator after all that, nearly choking to death. Still, after seeing the circumstances through static-filled vision, Natsuko returned to his own body and took a deep breath. I contacted Watase and the others. I told them to regroup in the control room. The control room? It seems we can steal brain cells root authority with the hacking software Mom prepared. So once we retrieve that software, we'll gather with everyone in the control room. Fine by me, but... Is that Watase man our enemy? Oh right, you still haven't had a chance to explain to her things. Right. He's an ally now. Luis, I know you might not be able to forgive him, but... Could you promise not to attack him just for now? We need this cooperation to get everyone out of here. Understood. I'll do as you say, Natsuko. Thanks, Luis. And after saying that, Natsuko then used Sense of Sympathy on Ukita. Alright, his connection with Ukita was plagued with noise as well. Natsuko mustered all his strength to send telepathy to Ukita. Mr. Ukita, can you hear me? I can manage to hear you. What happened? With the exception of Miss Tachibana, everyone's malice has been erased. Let's group at the control room for now. The shelter is no longer safe with its door broken, so please take Mashiro with you. Mashiro was sleeping in the shelter under Ukita's protection. Ukita responded with a strained voice. Control room, right? Roger that. It appears he managed to get through to him. Natsuko returned to his body once more and reported to Yuri and Luis. I told Mr. Kitty to bring Masha with him to the control room. We'll head to Mom's office first and bring the hacking software to the control room. Understood. Then I'll carry you on my back. Hurry. Right. There was no time to be embarrassed about appearances, so Natsuko did as Luis said. And thus they went to Area 5 and headed to Miyoko Tenkao's office. They searched inside the room. Mom said it's on the lowest shelf furthest back in the room. And it was locked, just as she said. Natsuko, out of the way, she's gonna kick it open. Eh? Oh, right. The ninja. Luis kicked the cabinet door open, and then a stuffed animal-shaped device tumbled out. Alice? No, it's an ARMS unit that's the same model as Alice. Wait, now that you mention, what happened to Alice? I didn't want to break her, so I hid her in the girls' restroom in Area 4. I see. That way Watase couldn't find her, eh? In that case, I'll take this ARMS unit, Alice number 2, with me then. Yeah. Let's hurry to the control room. But right as Natsuko said that and they were about to leave the room, a note posted on the wall suddenly caught Natsuko's attention. Ooh, super important. Yes. Informational field still forerunners development experiment, 9:16, 6 AM. Hey Yuri, was Mom trying to run some sort of experiment this morning? Eh? Ah, yes. I had to take a health exam early this morning because of that experiment. Is that so? Then what exactly is this informational field awareness development experiment about? It's hard to explain, but simply put, it's an experiment to create a spirit. Yeah, that thing they were talking about earlier. To just condense information and experiences and memories into just a thing until it forms a consciousness. To create a spirit, it's vague, but like, come on, come on Natsuko, you've seen the documents talking about this potential explanation, like, thing being possible. Like, information has its own, like, the fifth dimension, basically. It's, it's complicated. I mean, it's nonsense, complete science fiction, but still. For some reason, Natsuko got horribly caught up on those words. He knew this wasn't exactly the time to talk about it, but he couldn't help but ask questions. Create a spirit? What does that mean? What's Mom trying to do here? Hold on, Natsuko. Is that something you need to know right now? No, not really, not right now. We can discuss that later. I don't know, but it kind of bothers me. I'm sorry, Yuri, but could you give me a rough explanation for me, please? Okay, I'll explain. Yuri quickly began to explain. Well, first of all, this is second-hand information from the Professor, but this world is filled with BC particles. And of course, even the human brain is filled with high-energy BC particles. Intracerebral BC particles affect the brain and are affected by the brain. They have no substance, but they certainly exist. Doesn't that sound similar to something often talked about in the past? Consciousness. No. The spirit. Yes. The professor thought that if what we call the spirit were to actually exist, it might consist of the BC particles that fill the brain. That sentiment closely resembled the things that the subject ends inside of what Asa and Ukita had said. Then let's say you were able to create a lump of high-energy BC particles outside of the brain. Would that make a spirit? No, it needs to be infused with information. Would it indeed? That was the purpose of today's experiment. It needs to be filled with like concentrated information. The experimental procedure was to use the WX particle amplifier to create a roughly 500 MSV WX particle field in area N. But WX particles are merely lumps of energy without any sort of information, an empty spirit, so to speak. But afterwards, I was to enter area N and continue using BC for several hours. BC on whom? Nobody. Just untargeted telepathy. Why do that? To fill the particles with information. Basically, this is what the professor wanted to test. If I took all of my intercerebral information energy and emitted it outside my brain with BC, would that create a copy of my spirit? Make a copy of the brain, eh? Something like an electrical current ran down Natsuko's spine as he heard that question. Duplicate a person. He felt as if there was some sort of truth he never realized hidden within Yuri's words. So, were you able to make a spirit then? I mean, kind of. She did succeed. she did create the version of herself inside of you, or was that just her other thing? Fuck, but who knows? I mean, I think so. I don't think so. This incident happened before the experiment could start, so... Before Yuri could finish, a voice abruptly echoed inside Natsuhiko's head. Eh? Natsuhiko gasped. Eh? What? Oh, for fuck's sake, you... God damn it. The story never stops with it's just like... What? What? So... Oh, right, but yeah, oh god, now they talk about this. Right, so Natsuko was unconscious, constantly connected with Watase in the fully activated, field area. Like, that's where his brain was. For like 8 hours or so. Like, transmitting his entire information, going through a lot of stuff. It was multiple hour experiment, basically, that thing. Yeah. Constantly using... So there's a ghost Natsuhiko out there now. Eh? Or something like that. You know what? Yeah. Fantastic. I love this. Yuri and Luis both opened their eyes and looked at Natsuhiko. Hikarin, did you use telepathy just now? Nope, that wasn't him. No, I didn't. He heard it himself. That's another one. That's right. Natsuhiko didn't use telepathy at all. And yet all three of them had heard his voice. A voice that clearly sounded like Natsuko's telepathy. No, that's not all that strange. Why would I hear my own telepathy exactly? The moment that thought crossed his mind, the voice echoed once more. I'll wreck your brain. Oh yeah, this... Oh, right. It's not a fully formed version of him. This is just the things he said earlier back then. The memories and stuff like that. Yeah, okay. It's lumps of information. Wreck it, wreck it, wreck it, wreck it. That's what he did. Yeah, that's what you did to Watase's brain. Ow. It was telepathy intense enough to shake their very minds. What is this? What's going on? It's what you did, like 10 hours ago to Watase. That's how he felt. Taste of your own medicine, eh? It's not pleasant. Not pleasant indeed. As he screamed, Natsuko suddenly remembered. He had fired out that telepathy before. It was from back when he ran away from Mashiro in his arms as Watase attacked them. Natsuko had fired intense telepathy in order to freeze Watase in his tracks. That was telepathy from back then. Why are we hearing it now? For a moment he had no idea what was going on. But then he remembered one of Enna's lectures. BC energy created by telepathy starts decaying after descent, but it's not like it fades to zero immediately. So in other words, with or without the target, extraordinarily strong BC can remain in place for a while. Okay, so that's what it is. My telepathy is lingering. Interesting, it's reverberating more so than lingering. Was that voice telepathy used before? Yeah, I don't know why, but it looks like it's come back. Maybe the information energy stayed around. It's a rare occurrence, but it does. Before Yuri could finish, brain assault. Another Yuri appeared in the middle of the room. Okay, for fuck's sake, stop fucking with me, brain. Game, the fuck. But yes, this is the thing she created, and or that he expelled from his brain. Then, when he had to accept that she was dead, but then she wasn't dead. God, this is multiple layers of fuckery. It's fucking fantastic. Oh, they can see her as well. There's another. Oh, they can see her. Okay, excellent. It was a somewhat blurry, surreal visage. A phantom. Yeah, the one you expunged. With Natsuko at a loss for words, the phantom Yuri spoke. I'm sorry for deceiving you for so long. This one. But I'm sure you'll be okay without me now. Right. You've noticed it these past few days, haven't you? You're not alone, Hikarin. Those words jogged Natsuko's memory. This is from the time Yuri's phantom disappeared. Now my telepathy's come back. That was the telepathy Yuri had used a few hours ago to separate Natsuko from the phantom. It was high-grade telepathy that worked not only to cause an auditory hallucination, but a visual one as well. And as soon as they had realized what happened, the phantom disappeared. Okay, so just echoes of telepathy for now. Jeez, it might not be close to ending at all. The kids murmured in dumbfounded shock. Why did that happen over and over? I wonder why. That's a good question. Perhaps it's because we've used PC repeatedly in WX particle-rich environment. Maybe. Maybe. Such an environment would indeed make it easier for information energy to linger. I see. Hopefully that's all it was. Oh, I hope it's not. There has to be more. As long as you know the cause, it doesn't really matter. There are more important issues at hand. We should finish the idle chatter and continue moving forward. Yeah, you're right. We are running out of time before the bomb explodes, after all. Indeed, they couldn't just stand there forever. The 3 kids took Alice number 2 with them as they headed towards the control room. Meanwhile, heart and pain. Watasa carried Jun as he headed for the control room with Enna. You sure she isn't heavy, Captain Kasagi? No, she's not. She's 20 years old. She's an anime girl. She's like, kind of a pipsqueak almost. And he's the Terminator. Like, he's fine. Yeah, no problems. I mean, he's kind of lying because he's like battered and beaten so much, but still. Though, if you were to be honest, his body was so exhausted that it was taking genuine effort to carry her. His legs was also still in pain from being kicked by Louise, but he did his best to endure it. Bloody hell. I deserve at least this much pain anyway. Come on now, that's not relevant right now. And the physical pain means nothing as punishment. Not really. At least not as like... Look, we'll get to the punishment phase once we're out of here. Right now we need you in peak condition. Just when Watasa thought that, he heard Jun groaning behind him. Hello, Jun. The sound of Watasa's and Enna's voices seemed to have woken her up. You awake? Captain? Wait, you're carrying me? Yeah, had to after you lost consciousness back there. I see. We're meeting up with the others in the control room now. We'll be there soon, so I'll keep on carrying you the rest of the way. Okay, sure. Jun hesitated for a moment, but decided to go along with what he said. The 3 of them continued traveling for a while in silence. Jun eventually broke the ice. Those are pretty eyes, by the way. That's nice. I just had a dream. You dreamt? You mean when you were passed out? Well, I don't know, really. Maybe it was a little earlier than that. Jude said that uncertainly. Watasa was still curious, but he decided to ask a different question. What was the dream about? It was from when I was a kid, Ayasen, when he rescued you. Back then. I dreamed of the day 9 years ago where I got caught up in a gas explosion accident in the Rokame Municipal Apartment Complex, and was saved by a rescue worker. Watasa gasped when he heard that. Wait, you mean... Oh, you didn't realize that? Hey, Captain. Now I finally figured it out. You were the hero who rescued me back then, weren't you? How did he not? Although I guess this is a regular anime world where people have crazy color hair all the time. So, rescuing a girl with green hair and then meeting another spunky green hair girl in the future, not really that jogging memory. Doesn't matter too much. Don't you remember? You carried me out of that room and got me to safety. Watasa silently nodded in response to Jun's whispers. Yeah, I do. I recognized you as soon as I saw your face when you were first assigned to my team. Oh, he did? Why didn't you say anything? How could I? I'm no longer the hero you think I am. That's not true. And you still are. You can wear multiple hats. You can be both a hero and a terrorist at the same time. Jin then spoke to Watasa as if to break herself free of her sorrow. You worked your hardest to save everyone's lives, didn't you? You're still the hero I admired even now. Watasa couldn't nod to that declaration, but you are. Just because you were wearing the another hat doesn't change that fact. A hero, me, yes. And a villain at the same time. Both are correct. Those are not necessarily contradictory statements. It's the fields in which you operate as a hero and a villain. If they overlap, then that is contradiction. But if they don't necessarily, well, I guess they kind of do here. It's complicated. Everything's complicated, basically. Anyway, Jun had no idea of what was to come. That Watasa planned on going back to Q with Yuri until once they got out of there. If I don't, well, everything will have been a waste, basically, if you don't. Watasa didn't speak any further. Nor did Jun or Enna. In the end, the silence between all remained unbroken, and they made their way out of the connecting passageway. Oh, the cat wants attention again. Yeah. No? No? Ah, vai. Once Natsuko's group made it to the control room, they found Ukita and Mashiro already there. Mashiro! Louis rushed up to Mashiro as soon as she saw her. Mashiro, oh, how could this happen? It's fucked, that's how. Louis looked at Mashiro tearfully. Apparently, her blood transfusion was over since the kid had been disconnected, but Mashiro was still unconscious. Louis's calls were left unanswered. Who did this to Mashiro? That would be Watase. Well, as Natsuko stumbled with his words, Watase, Ena, and Jun arrived. Watase led Jun down and spoke. Natsuko. For some reason, Natsuko couldn't say a word. But before things went completely silent, Yuri spoke up. So 8 of us have been gathered here now. Yes, so Miss Tachibana is the only one. Louise interrupted Ena. Wait. I honestly don't understand anything that's going on. Someone explain. Anyone. That's fair. That is fair. Actually, you know what? I'll take this opportunity to cut this one short for today, because I still have to... It is a Sunday, and that means I have to edit, connect all the parts that have been done this week. Well, only 2, but still have to render and upload them and everything else, so we shall indeed leave it at that for now. For now. That's okay. But that's okay. We'll continue. There is always next time. There will always be a next time with me. Well, until a series ends. Then it'll be over, but then we'll move on to a new one. Well, a new, shorter one. Good lord, I wasn't... Genuinely, when I just picked this one, I had no idea this was going to be so long. Like, at all. But anyway. Anyway. With that... slightly abrupt, but a good point to pause, because, you know, once we get back next time, it'll be the perfect opportunity for some kind of a recap as well. As the people explain to us, as they explained to her, who knows very little, it'll be explained to us as well, once more. But, now, aside from that, what else is there? Don't think there is really anything other than just concluding this for today. And that means we move out of here. Is there anything to address? Not really. Not really. Nothing really happened outside of, you know, advancing the plot and the story. The echoes of psychic powers. Some moving forward a little bit. Cliffhanger, sure. I'll leave the cliffhanger this time around. Not really a fan of doing that, but sometimes it is a little fun and necessary. Circumstances demand such. But with that, yeah, there's nothing else. With that, we shall move away from reality, away from this fake reality that we have in this domain of mine, and into the void. Yes, as we say goodbye, we shall conclude this part, as we always do, with a little pause. Reign of Dio, Act 1, Rainbow, Volume 2, Rising, Chapter 14, Stargazer. The day will come when we all ascend to the heavens as the chosen people. But that day will not arrive on its own. We are the ones who will make it so. For this, we must build a great tower to the sky. Those above the clouds do not know of us. This is why I must speak to them. They must know we are here. Once they do, we will ascend. For the gates will open, and we will be blessed with wings with which to rise above the clouds into paradise. But first, we must build. Build, my brothers and sisters, sons and daughters. Build this great tower for me, and I will grant heaven. Countless souls were entrapped by this speech, laboring and toiling for days that would end only when their bodies did. The great promise the great tower, the great wizard, the great delusion. Faith in his own words drove the wizard blind to his own actions. Every day he would climb the tower, and with each new step his joy grew greater. One step closer, inch by inch, the clouds drew nearer. The howling winds made him deaf to the death throes of the chained. The shadow of his tower of stone eclipsed the tower of bodies growing beside it. All that mattered was the heavens. People from afar could not understand why, because the people within did not know why. It was simply a fact of life. The wizard and his tower of stone, and of faith, and of flesh, and of bone, and of death. For countless years the promise drove unknowable numbers to die, and even more to witness such death. Yet merely a glimpse of the wizard, and all minds became resolute once more, and the wizard took longer and longer to climb the tower, his joy now unceasing. When one day he stood at the bottom and spoke. "The tower is complete. You have done well, my brothers and sisters, my sons and daughters. Rejoice! Now it is time for me to fulfill my promise to you. Watch me as I ascend to the ones living above. Watch me as they bless us with wings to fly to them. Watch me as our heaven is granted. Watch me! Watch me!" For hours they watched the wizard climb. For seconds they watched him fall. For an infinite moment their minds froze. The sand turned red with blood. The body of the wizard lay broken, just like countless ones they had seen their whole lives. Years go by, the rain washes the tower clean, and not a soul in sight. The world forgot them all, the wizard, the people, and even the tower. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.